Okay, welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. I'm about to do an introduction, but quick public service announcement. Please subscribe, like, and enjoy every one of these episodes and share them with your friends, family, colleagues, and so on. It's what makes this show possible for you. It's coming to you free. I will mention that all of the guests, they're healers, they're experts, they're show hosts, they're authors, and more. Sometimes all of those things combined. Today is no exception. We have back our first returning guest. You want to see her. You're seeing her now. This is Amy Stark in Colorado. She's a healer. She's a psychic. She's a show host, Stark Transformation Show. She's incredible. Check out her website right now, starktransformation.com. After you're done watching this, we're going to cover a lot of ground today. She's just back from a Joe Dispenza retreat that knocked her socks off and much more. One whole week with Joe Dispenza. She's going to share with us her experiences there. But go back to episode 2 of Angels, Positivity, and Love. You're going to hear a lot of amazing content from her. She was also on my very first Mind, Body, Spirit panel, one of the 3 experts. We're about to have those 3 back, hopefully in August. Amy and I are going to talk about this after the show to get a date and lock her down. She's so busy, it can be hard to pin her down. But that's the 3rd panel she'll be on. We've got another one that's been orchestrated, another Mind, Body, Spirit panel. You can find that on my YouTube channel. Now, welcome Amy Stark to the show.
Thank you for having me. I always love to chat with you, Michael.
Yeah, you have so much energy and you share everything with us. You've broken ground in a lot of ways, first on your own front, in your own personal life with the illnesses early on, and been able to overcome a lot to then share a lot of your own love with all of us. So I'm very appreciative. And there's an old saying, a true healer kindles the power already within another. And I think you're living and breathing that.
Thank you. That is my goal, is to remind people of how powerful they are. By either telling my story or helping them to get closer to who they really are, by moving out any of the things that are getting in the way of their cells expressing themselves the way they're supposed to, connecting with their higher self, anything that is not serving them. I want to help them move out so that they can become their most authentic self.
And just to pitch you here a little, people can come to you. They've got their usual situations, drama, obstacles, problems. My life story is, and you help them sort it out, but you don't just do it for them. You help them feel empowered to be able to do it again. If it happens 6 months later, they should be able to right the ship and get moving.
Right. I don't want people to need me all the time. I want to give them the tools that have worked for me, for my clients, for my students, that I've seen just scientifically work, and, take it and use it when they need it, whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning, or on the way to pick up their kids at school and they're, having a meltdown of their own, like they need to have tools, and I'm not always available. Right. So I want people to feel empowered.
And on Angels, Positivity, and Love, you're one of 2 guests this year in 2023. Kimberly Meredith is another who was tested at IONS and in a couple other scientific settings. You also have been tested hardcore on the psychic front, and it's documented. We don't have to get into the details. I believe that will be in episode 2 after this. People can go back and check it out. But I wanted to note that because, there's a lot of us out there that are like, well, what do they really do? Whatever, you want to judge, you want to express it. You've been tested, and so that gets very fascinating. Why don't you give us a quick overview, though, on a little bit of how you got to where you are, what you do for folks, and then go in any direction you want, or tell us about that Joe Dispenza retreat.
Oh gosh, so much there. First of all, right now I am detoxing from the Joe Dispenza retreat, so my voice is a little bit wonky. I am, when you embody so much light, it starts to release things, right? So I'm just getting closer to who I really am, and some of the ways that we can clear our body is through either, getting a fever, or when this light comes, it can move out stuff, and it can look like a runny nose, or, a cough or a fever and things like that. So that's what I went through the last couple of days, is just the final detox of letting go of what I was still carrying within me that I didn't even know. And so at the Joe Dispenza retreat, we do 35 hours of meditation, which I did not know it was that many hours of meditation. And I've done a lot of meditation in my life. I've been meditating for 17 years. So when I heard that this was a meditation retreat, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like I'll show up and it'll be easy. But I was wrong. But I loved it. And it was so challenging and so hard, but it was so worth it. And, every day we start at 6 a.m. in the morning. And we weren't even meditating at 6 a.m. We'd start learning. So we'd learn for like an hour, hour and a half, and then we'd take a short break and then we'd start meditating. There was one morning where we started at 4 a.m. and he does that because there are certain chemicals in your brain that get released and you have a easier time getting connected to the divine at that time. So that meditation went 4 hours and 45 minutes. And so that's really challenging. I mean, my longest meditation was 2 hours prior to going there. And then pretty much regularly we're meditating for 2 hours at a time, almost 2 hours at a time. So, excuse me. So there's lots that's released, you're in your head and you're thinking about all the things and excuse me, trying to separate yourself from your thoughts, right? And trying to go into what he calls the nothingness so that you can reconnect with who you really are, which is a divine spark of the source. Whether you believe in God or the universe, however you want to look at it, we are an expression of source. And so it's just reconnecting us to that so that we can become our more authentic self. And sometimes we want these like magical experiences to happen. We want like these visions and things like that. But sometimes the healing just comes like, Amy, it's time to forgive so and so. And you're like, oh yeah, that's probably a good idea. And then all of a sudden, I started forgiving everything and everyone and inside my body for all the things, like it just was like, and I was like, this is incredible. Right. I know, crying my eyes
I'm
out.
bawling like a baby, I bet.
Yes. So many times I was crying my eyes out. And, because I'm so sensitive, I didn't even realize like some of these things were bothering me. Like, yeah, like
We're like
just
vacuums sucking stuff up. It's not fun.
right. And so like even at like people littering, all that just like came into my vision when I was forgiving people. I'm like, right, that bothered me, back like I remembered this one time when I was a kid and I saw somebody throw something out the window and I was just like, and I guess it got stored in my nervous system, like that this person didn't care about the planet and all that. And because we're so sensitive, that stays with us. And so I was just like, I forgive that person. I forgive anybody who's littered. I forgive the military for anything that they've done and harm, or, what's that?
So, Joe, let's cover Joe for 1 second because not everybody has read or seen his stuff. Now, he's all over YouTube. He's been interviewed by everybody. I'm going to just take a stab at it because I haven't really given him a shot, so to speak. But I mean, I've been dancing around Joe as a concept for a while and talked to people who have just come back from retreats up to about 7 years ago. I'll describe it as an Esther Hicks experience. When you go to one of those seminars, you feel it. Usually it's the person in the chair. Esther does her thing. Something's happening, but you only have to sit there and participate in a quiet way. Joe is like Esther on steroids and gets you participating, and there's a flow. And if you want to look behind the veil a little, he's legit from what I've heard from angels and others listening to angels in terms of he's fully plugged into angels, light beings, and so on. He's doing his thing. He's bringing you the universe, but he doesn't really advertise it that way. And yet some people saw what they saw, beings while you were doing the conference, the retreat for a week and so on. So just could you put it in your own words, and also which hotel or where were you? Which part of the country? Were you in Mexico? He sometimes does those beach retreats.
Yeah, he does them all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Denver, so it was just down the street, but I did stay at the hotel because there is the 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. starts. So let me just tell you, yes, there are beautiful beings. The energy is so high. And what I love about Joe is that he's actually having really measurable results with the things that he's doing. So he has a team of scientists that he travels with that are collecting samples of blood or saliva or DNA or, even bowel movements. I mean, he's watching the microbiome change over the week. And that's why he calls it like the Joe Dispenza flu, like anything that or he calls it the Dispenza flu, because whatever you don't need anymore, it's got to go, within your body and in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes it moves energetically, sometimes it moves physically. And the things that I witnessed when I was there was incredible, because I saw people getting out of their wheelchairs who hadn't been walking. I heard of a woman who got her eyesight back. A woman spoke on stage about tremendous pain that she's always had in her face. That was gone. Just miracles happening all around you, and they consistently happen. I mean, it's incredible to see the transformations that are happening. I mean, you hear in the room when people are meditating, them releasing the anger or whatever, and you're just in your little meditative space, and you try not to get distracted by it because you're grateful for them having their healing, right? When you have the opportunity to release how energy is stored in your nervous system like that, it's really beautiful. It's really a healing moment for them. And you just stay focused and you wait for your healing moment, basically. And it's funny, when I was forgiving everybody, what I had started out the meditation was, because he said, focus on the kind of feelings you want to have in life. And one of them was freedom, and the other one was awe. And when I started forgiving everybody, I was like, gosh, I feel so free right now. And then I was like, oh, that's right, I asked for freedom. And then I was in awe of myself and how everything had planned out. And when you go all in like I did, I had so many transformative moments, but the significant days that I had, which I thankfully speak with spirit often, and they warned me that like Thursday and Friday were going to be massively transformative for me. And they were. Yeah, like literally my every cell in my body started vibrating after the 4 a.m. Meditation, and I got actually scared. My whole body got a wave of heat that came through it. I actually had to throw up. So I ran out, threw up, went upstairs to my room, and I'm like, maybe I'm getting sick. I had passed out, woke up, and my whole body was vibrating. I didn't know if the bed was moving or if I was moving, and I almost felt like I was gonna like levitate off the bed.
And when
And
we talk about the Joe Dispenza flu, people go through the whole week, the event, but there's the after effects. How long does a person process varies? It varies. Some people it's like that. Others they've got to.
yeah. It just depends on how deep you go,
Yeah.
like how much are you releasing? And they say the same thing when I did Reiki 1. They said, be careful, because the following week you're going to be releasing that which does not serve you. And I remember I thankfully wasn't too sick. I remember it being like 2 or 3 days that first time when I went and did Reiki 1. But and I warn this with my clients, like, when you move energy like that, it will cause a chain reaction at some point, and it could be that all of a sudden you get super emotional about the dumbest thing, because it's an opportunity for the other emotions to come out, right? So that usually happens on the second day or the third day. What's up?
I wish it was like this. You get done with the major week-long retreat, you wake up the next morning and you're like, oh my God, that tree in the backyard. Next thing you know, the family's looking at you, going out in the back door, your robe, you got your coffee, you set it down, you're hugging the tree. You're like, hi, and you learn the tree's name is Lisa, but that's not what we're talking about. It's less that and more just so.
But here's the thing though, Michael. So I wear an aura ring,
Yeah.
and it tracks my readiness, right? So like I was feeling pretty sick. Like we were supposed to do this early in the week, and I was like, Michael, I can't. Every single day my readiness was great. My ring is telling me, because of my heart rate variability, which is my indication of my overall stress, was saying that I was fine, even though my temperature was up almost a degree, even though my heart rate was up. My new heart rate variability was so high that it was overriding these other signals. And I was telling my friends who went to the event, I'm like, I'm sick and I don't even care. Like I have so much love and joy in my heart right now, and my mind is so clear, and I know where I'm going and who I am, that this will just work itself out. Like this is just the physical body having its process.
Yeah, when we
And
talked Monday or Tuesday, you were like, yeah, it's going to resolve itself in 2 to 3 days for sure. So, and that was confident. That was good. I got to
yeah.
mention, there's all, there's like a bubble. People can, so there's a lot of folks who aren't going to be able to relate to what they just heard because it's a lot. And just call it a love bubble, unconditional love, the universe of fabric of love. The universe is love is the fabric of the universe. Joe's got the ability to pull it in. He's connected.
It's one way of doing it.
Yeah, it's one way of doing it. But there are other, it's presence, and it happens when you go to an Eckhart Tolle thing or Esther Hicks. You can feel it in the room, a group of people just doing kind of a circle. Puja, if it's the India cultural thing, and so on. But I've got to mention, I had a guest this year, won't say who we had to do the taping over. We did a whole hour, but they were getting into the past, they were processing, they were getting healing, a lot of angels present. They were throwing up, and like throwing up like this way. So I just deleted that. We did it again. But it was awesome. Not awesome, that way, but we always, no matter how much you release, we accumulate again. We've got a professional waste removal company, garbage trucks that are collecting everybody else's garbage, even if it's, not ours, or ours. And we rehash stuff all the time. We can't help it. We got the thinking thing going on. So when we empty the garbage truck, this is what happens.
Right. Well, and here's the thing, Michael. I focus on the mind, body, and spirit when I'm working with people. And there are certain things that you can do for your body to give it a healing, like eating properly. So like, for instance, my body doesn't like gluten. So I stay away from gluten. It makes it so that my body doesn't have to overcome the nervous system reaction that happens. So it gives me more resilience. And that's one way of helping to find homeostasis within the body. It's an easy way, actually. I mean, a lot of people are like, I couldn't do that. Well, you'd be surprised that when you feel so great all the time, you're like, this is worth it. And then eventually, once you get so resilient, you can attend things like, the Joe Dispenza. And then you can go in and you can start to heal anything that has created that disease with, let's say, gluten. And that's my hope was to actually change my microbiome when I went in there. So it's no wonder that actually, I mean, ironically, he was like talking about how the microbiome changes, and all of a sudden this heat wave had came over me. Uh-oh, are you going to throw up?
No, but it's mind over matter. But then the next level up is spirit over matter, or energy, or love over matter. And that's what we're talking about here. It just hit me.
And so I'm in there and I go upstairs and I go back and because I check in, I'm like, am I really okay? And I was. Excuse me.
For the audience, wait, Amy Stark here. And again, it's starktransformation.com. Amy, when she's listening to angels or doing healing or receiving healing or just in the flow, will yawn a lot. You're going to see this soon. But also she's so sensitive that you're going to see her cough a little, drink a little water, and so on.
Yeah.
So keep going. Interruption.
Right. So anyway, so I come down and I say, what did I miss of the lecture? Because, he's talking about the science, the brain chemicals, everything. And they're like, oh, you missed the part about the Joe Dispenza flu. And I'm like, I was experiencing it. And so then we do a meditation or whatever, we come back later, and then he starts to show us, he's like, tomorrow after the meditation, what you might experience is every single cell vibrating. And I'm like, that's what was just happening to me. I couldn't believe it. And then so I went outside and I started talking to this guy, and he's like, I'm so glad you mentioned that happened to you, because the exact same thing happened to me already. So it's amazing how, this is how spirit tends to talk to me and teach me, is that I experience the thing first, and then I learn about the science or about why your body might be going through that certain thing. So I found that very fun that I learned that way, because otherwise I would have been like, yeah, whatever, Joe Dispenza flu. But I actually experienced it. I mean, it was kind of interesting. And then of course this week, and thankfully it waited until Monday. Really, I woke up Monday morning and I had been home for a day or two.
So let's back up. So we know something's up if a Joe Dispenza can go out there and do a big retreat for a week. You're feeling it. You're doing meditation, basically a way to connect. So there's obviously a couple hundred very successful experts, authors, hosts, show hosts, healers. You do this work. How can some folks out there just begin immediately getting into this a little more, poking around at it? Is it certain YouTube channels? Talk to us just a little bit at how can someone just look more into what we're talking about now in a way that they can grasp, or a way they can start taking some immediate steps, or just what are
Right.
some of those steps?
So if you're all in already and you understand energy, you understand that the body has this information stored within your body, go to Carolyn Meese and study her work about anatomy of spirit.
Hmm.
For those that are a little bit more skeptical, I would go to Bruce Lipton's book, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Biology of Belief. At the time, I was reading both so that I could understand what I was seeing and feeling and knowing. Sorry.
I didn't do it. And so just so people know, Amy's got super amazing technical lingo from science world. She shares with us, the fight or flight is easy for me to regurgitate, but there's that
Parasympathetic and
parasympathetic nervous system. I've been dying to say that the whole show, because if you go to episode 2 of Angels, Positivity, and Love, you're going to hear her mention that, plus much more scientific terms.
Right. So then, yeah, it all boils down to the energy of the body. And people are like, well, give me proof of the energy of the body. Well, each cell communicates through energy. And Bruce Lipton was proving that by removing the nucleus of the cell. So the outside of the cell communicates with the other cells. And the way that you can see this in real time is like if you're getting an EKG or an EEG, it's definitely emitting waves, and that's how it reads the energy of the body. But also, if I were to tell you how amazing energy is like if you see a snake, let's say you're afraid of a snake and you're on a walk and you're totally fine, you're in the parasympathetic nervous system, you're in the rest, digest, and heal, you're just like chilling. You see something you're afraid of, in that moment, you're going to see the snake, and then your eyes are going to give the signal to your brain and the rest of your body for survival, right? And that's energy. There's no way that a signal could move that fast in half a second or a second to alert your whole body if it wasn't energetic. Because when you take like Advil, for instance, you have to, actually put it in your mouth and then digest the pill, and then it takes about 20 minutes for it to get to your cells. So what you experience is an energetic function of the body, and we are energetic. We talk about vibes of a room. We say we can sense something's up. We use this language because we're familiar with this part of our body, but we just don't talk about it a lot. And so when you read the Dr. Bruce Lipton's book, you'll get some of that science if you're needing it. But also, if you look into acupuncture, which is 5,000 years old, you'll find that, they studied live beings. In Western medicine, we study dead people, cadavers. They don't have the energy in it. So that's why it's been left out of a lot of what we talk about. And if you really want to change who you are, physically, mentally, emotionally, you can do it from an energetic perspective. And it's a little bit sometimes harder to do, which is why I suggest things like biohacking, or, eating a gluten-free diet, or staying away from dairy if that bothers you. And eventually you'll gravitate towards things that are really good for you, because energetically you feel good, you feel more resilient, you feel more capable of handling the next level. You feel ready to forgive, you feel ready to love more, you feel ready to step into your purpose, you feel ready to sit down and sit with yourself and listen to your thoughts. That's how it evolves.
I'll say it a different way for you while you drink. You get out of your head, you get out of all the mental structures, you get out of the neutral to the slightly negative to more, if you're really, repeating stuff over and over again, that doesn't have to be true. You get into your heart where you're connected to everything. Nature, the universe, your higher self, your true purpose, your passion. All the fun stuff happens when you live in life here. And we spend most of our time up here. So again, the magic, the fun, the coolness, when you go, yes, oh my God, a picnic or a bird or a pool party or anything.
Right. So most of what we're all trying to accomplish here is removing anything in the nervous system that is keeping us in fight or flight. So like I said, if you're eating a food that you're allergic to, it's going to put you in fight or flight. If you're having a thought that you're not good enough, you're putting yourself in fight or flight. If you're in a relationship that is not serving you, like person's abusive, you're in fight or flight. So what we're trying to, or like, let's say you want to get a job and you're constantly thinking about whether or not you can get that job, you're going to be in fight or flight because you don't have it yet. It's in the future, right? So you're in that limbo and your body says, I don't understand. Like, how can we get that and stay in the present moment? We can't. So now we're in fight or flight. That's anxiety, right? So what we're eventually doing is trying to get back to who we really are and calm the nervous system down. And so there's different ways that we can do that. One of the ways that I do it often with clients is through EFT, but meditation, taking walks. Yeah. Why are you tapping here?
Tapping. I don't know. I'm tapping. I'm not doing this. I'm doing that.
I told you I needed to teach you that last time.
Yeah.
But then, so like once we rewrite the whole nervous system, right, and we change our thoughts, we shift our mindset, we embody this higher level of energy, we have resilience. The next piece that we're really looking for, and it doesn't have to be in this order, there's really no order, it's the magic. It's remembering that we are capable of magic. And when you yes.
Well, hey, can I blow sage your way? We're going to go early on this, but can I bring joy in, blow sage, put a lighter up, and do a few things before we go to the next step on this thought process? Because it's all interconnected. It's just letting go, letting almost the universe do the work for you. You tee it up. You only have to go to the golf course. You can shoot your best score ever, but you only have to put the ball on the tee and let angels or the universe or light beings, or just call it the force, or just your higher self, or just the universe do the job of the swing, and you'll get the best drive you've ever had. If you need to think of it a different way as a metaphor, great, but it's not trying, it's just doing. Being.
It's just being.
Yeah, there's doing by being and being by doing, and that's what we're talking about here. To be or not to be, Shakespeare. That's always the question. Okay, so somehow I got to Shakespeare, but this is lit sage. Catch a little bit of it. Now, everybody in the audience around the world down the road in years to come will get to witness Amy Stark's reaction here, because when she reacts, oh my God, you're going to see it. This is stage, Juniper Ridge. She's hitting it, but she hasn't started yawning or anything else yet. Watch her face. This is happening. It's a Disney moment here.
All
okay.
Right. You'll let me yawn. Usually you don't.
No, yawn. Go ahead. Do your thing. But you got to understand, everyone's different. Everyone has a different reaction. It could be shivers of buckets of water down your back, but there's no water. It's just energy.
Right. The yawn is actually a resetting of the nervous system. So like, just like a dog shakes, its back, or a duck will shake its back when they're trying to get rid of fear. And a dog, when the dog has anxiety, it'll yawn.
Or my cat, we've learned, does a cobra rattle with her tail when she's expecting the food. She sits in front of the fridge on 4 paws, but her tail waggles. I've never seen any cat that I've ever had. She's more like a Bengal tiger. From a different life, she must have been a Bengal tiger in India. She stalks everything in the house. Middle of the night, you head to the bathroom, you've got to stalk her. It's the cutest thing. She does dry runs on you. Even my dogs that are 10 times her size are afraid of that cat. There's Joy. This is an American Bic lighter. You just see white, yellow, gold for the audience. Now ask Joy to put some pink light on this. I'm going to shut it off. Look at the lighter and get a little extra light. Ask for universal light to show up for the audience. Don't say we never did nothing on this show. You getting some purple, some pink, some sparkle?
It's just massive.
Yay. I didn't do it. Okay. Now, if you don't mind, ask Joy to add one more really cool phrase, either about the retreat, adding on to what you've said and told us, something that you can then pick up from and keep going with, because she's got something to add here.
Again, she just said, you're more powerful than you know. And that's the truth. That's the magic. So once you have healed enough, you're able to embrace this idea that you create your life, right? Because you have to be in the parasympathetic nervous system in order to feel like you can create your life. Otherwise, when you're in the sympathetic, which is your fight or flight, you're trying to conserve energy. You're trying to stay narrow-minded, narrow focused, narrow-minded.
But that's the same thing.
Yeah, you're looking for the predators. You're not trying to create. So you have to be in this parasympathetic nervous system. And then that's when you can open up to creation, the magic. You can use, like Joe Dispenza talks, you can ping your pineal gland and get these, explosions of information essentially in your field, where you are able to then be like, oh, okay, that's what I need to know. Because there is this whole other invisible world that we are capable of seeing, but we aren't taught necessarily how to see it, as children or even young adults. And it's becomes a process of learning how to use that, to then remember that we can create our lives. So I'm going to give you some stories of serendipity. What?
And just two quick things for everybody out there. They're already experiencing this. They're not going to give themselves credit for quite the way you're describing it, but they're already doing it at least twice a week. Anytime you, again, get on the golf course or you're writing your book and you have a great chapter, you just jammed out, no effort, you cooked a meal, it could be any activity, but there's such a level of consciousness that you enter into that you don't even realize, you don't give yourself credit for the amazingness you do just subconsciously. And all you have to do is just place a little more focus on your slow down a little up here to just tap into what you've already got. So everything Amy's described or experienced at Joe Dispenza, technically you're already at that level. You just might need to grab the cash, go to someone out there who can help you appreciate it more, unlock you, which is what she does. So make sure you look up.
Right. It's essentially unlocking you. But here's the thing: once you figure out that magic and you see that it works and that you can like focus on the job and you get it, you then have to learn how to become it all the time. So you're this new healed person walking around realizing that you can create. So, at the Joe Dispenza retreat, we have a walking meditation. So it's like you need to walk with your eyes open as this person, right? So essentially, when we are doing this work, there's like it's all like interwoven, but essentially if you were going to look at it, it's like level upon level upon level. You want to be able to be healed and feel free in your own body so that you can then experience the divine within you and feel connected and like a creator of your life, just like the creator. And then the next thing is to have your eyes open and living from your intuition and living from your heart. So what does he say? Relax in your heart, awaken your brain, right? So, I have always lived my life as somebody who says, does this feel good? Like, do I want to do this? And I always tap in here. And if that's a yes, then I do it.
Your apartment story in episode 2 of Angels, Positivity, and Love, when people go back to follow up and see Amy's very detailed show, she's got a bunch of those examples in there.
Right. Well, and I was just going to give the example, and I don't think I gave it the last time, but there was a time period in my life where I decided I was going to pay off my debt. And this was 20 years ago or something like that. And I knew how much I was making. And I said, just because I don't really, I'm not a numbers person. I'm more of a big picture. I was like, $20,000 has got to do it, right? Like an extra $20,000 plus what I'm making should be able to clear this debt, right? Which was my intuition telling me 20,000. So I sent off an email to one of my friends and I was like, hey, he was asking me what I was up to. And I was like, I'm going to make an extra $20,000 this year. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I could do tile work. Cause like when I was, on summer, sometimes I would do that for people. My mom taught me how to do that, paint walls, whatever. I'm like open to it. But I know it's going to happen. Like I just send it off and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to do, but it's going to happen. So then the next week I get called into my job and, or at my job to my boss. And he's like, Amy, it's time for your 2-year review. And I'm like, 2-year review? Like, I didn't know about that. And I'm like, I guess I'm staying.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, I hope this is a good one. So he pulls me in and he starts talking to me and he's like, we're just so pleased with you. We're going to give you X amount of dollars more in your paycheck per week. And I was like, great. I was like, thank you so much. Like, I love working here. Like, this is so great. I go around the corner, I pull out my phone, I type in what he just said, and it was an extra $20,000. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how does that happen? And then I was like, because I'm still human and I'm still walking that, I'm part of the all, the oneness, and I'm still one. I'm like, you are the creator of your life. You just have to have a strong intention and feel it in your heart and believe that it will happen and that you will be taken care of. And it shows up. But getting there is hard sometimes,
Yeah. And when
but in
people
that
talk
moment,
surrender, yeah, when people talk surrender, I like to say you're not really surrendering anything. You're just getting out of here to allow for possibility to start coming in again.
right. And sometimes we need to know that we are being taken care of and watched over by, the angels, and spirits, our spirit team. When, at the Joe Dispenza event, I mean, I had the most incredible experience, meeting up with my spirit team and just feeling the love and the compassion that they had for me and the journey that I've been on. I mean, of course, tears just streaming down my face.
I can share a quick one. Back, this is like 8 or 10 years ago, I was still doing Ford public relations and doing PR, but I got a big account, and I won't mention the industry, but it's business and well known. It's a certain amount per month, and I think they paid the whole amount or something like that. But the second I got in there was some rivalry going on inside the company. Who would be the next leader? And they couldn't even show up for a New York Times meeting that was a really big deal. You're going to go meet like 3 or 4 reporters. There's going to be 6 of them, the client. They can't do that because of internal politics all of a sudden. So I got put on ice, but got paid. So just picture a briefcase showing up at the front door with a really big sum that got me through the next couple of years, because I've had all these different experiences where I'm getting taken care of. I can't explain it. One time I'm driving by a bookstore, the Native American chiefs will randomly bring them in to add to your dialogue. You're going to finish in just a second. But they said, pull in and ask for a job. And, I got a job right away. But I remember sitting at a little kid's table, filling out the form. I'm 1 foot off the ground. Later, the manager comes right out and goes, are you sure you want to work here? I've been in New York City, high-powered public relations. I got assigned the metaphysical section. I got assigned the self-help section, everything from psychiatry to divorce to everything else. So it was a way to totally absorb all that stuff. I didn't get the religion section, but to offset the peace, love, and happiness, I got also the murder, mayhem, spy section, hardback and paperback. And that was one of the most, it was like getting an MBA in whatever you want to call this, woo, spiritual, the universe. Wasn't aware of all the authors. You see Joe Dispenza and everything else. So I went off just a little bit to buy you time, but here's Dolmaif and Geronimo. If you don't mind just having them add a phrase or two in as you relaunch Taking Us Where You're Taking Us. These are 2 Native American chiefs, Unconditional Love spirit guides, action and Dolmaif is wisdom. Absolutely fantastic. You got what you got. Now relaunch again. And if you want to catch a little percent,
yeah. What I wanted to say is that there's another story that I don't know that I told on the other episode that just really illustrates how you're just being guided all along. Okay. So I have the book back there, and did I tell you about this book? Okay, so it's a book by the medium John. Now I'm forgetting his
Edwards.
Name. No, John Edwards. Yes. And so at the time, I was wondering if I should be a medium, and I am a medium. But what I do is I use my mediumship skills to help people to heal. I don't just sit and talk to other people's loved ones and have a conversation. That's just not what I do. So that's what I feel like a typical medium is. I just get the one piece of information that I need to help my client to heal. Anyway, so at the time though, I had all these gifts opening up and I'm like, oh, is this the direction I'm supposed to go in? And I kept wondering. So I'm walking down the streets of New York City and I see that there's an event that's happening in a church or a school or something like that. And they have a bunch of books, used books. So I was like, oh, I'm, trying to save money. As I had said, I wanted to pay off my debt. And I'm like, this will be perfect. I'll go in and I'll get a book and I can afford whatever they've got in there. So I walk in and I only have about 5 minutes and I'm like overwhelmed by 1,000 books. So I'm like, oh no, this is way bigger than I thought it would be. And then I was like, hold up. I'm like, Spirit, please highlight, the book that I need to buy or that I would love to have right now. So I see this like glowing light coming down over this section of books. So there's maybe 20 books in that section in that area. So I go over and I immediately see which one I'm drawn to, which was this John Edwards book. I'm like, great, it's about mediumship. I'm sure they want me to learn about mediumship. So I take the book and I into my hands and I hear, Amy, there's a message in there for you. And I'm like, yes, that's spirit. And then I'm like, Amy, the other part of me is like, Amy, you drank the Kool-Aid. Like, you are getting way over your head. Like, there's no message in there. I'm like, well, hold up. Let's see. So I turn, to the first page that's blank. And I'm like, nothing's there. And I'm like, oh man. I'm like, well, maybe it's embedded in the book. So I take it home and I'm reading it, and I'm drinking my coffee, and then all of a sudden this note falls out, and the note says, "Dear Amy, this is not your gift." And I was like, who says that? Like, who writes a note that says this is not your gift? So it turns out, and I have this on my Instagram. You can scroll back or whatever. But it says, "Dear Amy, this is not your gift." And then it says, "We've signed you up for John Edwards newsletter that's going to come every month. We love you, Eddie, Sage, and whoever else." There's 4 of them. And why I'm telling you this story is because, one, Spirit wanted me to know that mediumship was not my gift.
Yep. You had bigger
2,
gifts.
right, that that they are there listening to my thoughts, my desires to get to the next level, and they're just gently guiding me. So the things that needed to come together in the quantum field for this to take place, for this message to be delivered to me, which I still have, and I tell this to other people, I've probably told thousands of people this at this point, is because the person, Amy, who got the book, which wouldn't that be great if one day she heard this story and she's like, no way. She donated the book with the note in it. So most of the people would grab the note and just throw it out and be like, whatever. She had it in there, donated the book. I found the book out of thousands of books at this, used book emporium or whatever, whatever. It was a fundraiser, and took it home. The note could have fallen out anywhere on the way, because, it was in my backpack and all that. I'm traveling. I found it, read it, understood it, and then knew which direction I needed to go in. So, well, it was.
And if you look at it from your guides, your relatives, your angels perspective, there's no time and space. So it's all one. They can see the linear, and they can see the multiple ways. Because
you even spelled my name right.
Yeah, and you may decide at the last second, nah, I don't have time for this, and you go, and they've got to try 3 other ways over the next 3 weeks to reach you.
Can you imagine? They were like, "Oh, this beautiful thing we just had for you."
Yeah. Now, the only thing stranger on the note would have been had it said Hope, Faith, Grace, and Sage. Crazy names.
Right.
Those are angel names for folks who didn't know. Okay, I got to share one 10-second thing. I'm at a bookstore, and I kind of get pinged on a book like you, except it's Find the $10 in it. And it was Sylvia Brown showing me, $10 is $10. So, but Sylvia Brown showed me the $10. Now, I don't think you and I have done Sylvia Brown, but she's part of the crew.
No, I love Sylvia Brown.
And honestly, you can hear her nails rapping. She can take care of her own reputation. If anybody's worried about, I once was like, well, people are kind of, wailing on her character for that one TV show she did. But the point is, she's loved. She's big. If you're into business, she's great for business. She's great for your personal well-being in the business front. Shed the stress, be you, own it, fierce leadership. So have Sylvia comment about the $10 that was found in the book. She steered me to it. It made my day. What'd she say?
Well, you know how she's funny? She just laughed with that, like she was a smoker or something, because she has that raspy voice. She was like, Michael, it should have been 20.
That was good. Okay, now what does she have first for you on your path? Get a compliment on Joe Dispenza. That takes a lot. First, a lot of people out there are like, hey, I don't have $3 to $5 grand. And so I'd love for you to do a pep talk after we do her for you about the Joe Dispenza thing. Get a compliment, and then have her give us some advice for all of us. How can we get to the Joe Dispenza or someone else and spend a week or 5 days on self-love, self-help? You're dying right now. What'd you get?
She just said that I'm such a beautiful soul. Like she sent me a bunch of love. So hang on.
If people want to see a wink, a smile, a nod, she'll move in the photo for you. I know that sounds impossible.
No,
we're talking no limits.
I've seen it before. I've seen it before. It freaks me out. But let me listen. Yeah. So essentially the message here, I go all in when I do things. Like I just started doing ice baths in March.
Wim
And
Hof.
yeah, in the first month, I did 4 hours of ice bathing. So not all at once, but 10 minutes here, 9 minutes here, whatever. And all I was doing was just doing what my body felt. Okay. So I wasn't like, I'm gonna do 4 hours. It just was what I needed or what my body was saying I needed. So I went all in, I loved it. I still do it. I love it.
But isn't
Um,
that the point of the exercise for everything we're talking about today, is not to try to force and to go from
right,
structure the way we've gone education, our career. We think it has to be done a certain level. And
right,
instead it's through awareness and peace and going with the
right.
creative flow or the flow of the universe.
There's some people who go to Joe Dispenza and it's their first like foyer, or if I think that's the word, into this kind of realm. And then they go for 20 different times. Some
Oh,
people have the money and the time to do that. Yeah, they do. Many people do it 5, 6, 7 times.
oh my God.
I met many people doing that. And so the work that I've done put me at a certain level. My all inness, that's just who I am. I go all in. I was there, present, listening, um, taking the commands as he was telling them, like
Your
meaning,
sympathetic nervous system and the vagus, yeah.
vagus nerve. Yeah. So,
Vagus
I
nerve.
mean, so one of the things that he teaches is how to ping your pineal gland. Well, I can do that energetically. So, like, I didn't have to learn those certain things. So, I was able to take it to the next level. So, people enter his events at all different levels. And what she just said to me was, I went from like 1 to 100. Not everybody's going to go from 1 to 100 like that. It was a giant leap, a quantum
You put
leap,
in a lot
right?
of time and effort over,
Right, many
yeah.
years. And like I was going to bed early, I was getting up early, like I was getting I got up at 2:45, I got up at 4:15. I was preparing my mind and my body to receive everything that he was giving me. And other people are happy, and there's no judgment around this. This is where anybody is. They were out the night before and they're, drinking and staying up later, that's fine. That's not me. I want to, if I'm invested in it, I'm all in.
You're treating it like the Olympics.
Like I did with my when I did the energy healer practitioner test in the lab.
Yep.
I was all in. For weeks and weeks, I was preparing for that.
And I have to mention for the audience, one of the things they gave her was changing the pH of water, not only like up, but down and back and this and that, and a lot of hard stuff. Anyone, you can read up on that. And also just go back to episode 2 of Angels, Positivity, and Love. Amy Stark, StarkTransformation.com. Stark Transformation Show as well. She's the host of that. How many episodes are you up to now?
203.
Yeah, 203. So not many.
And I have never been
lot.
sick on one. So
Yeah, no, you're hearing her in a rare. She's still
rare. I actually I haven't been sick since I have done ice baths. So since March, I know for sure. And then I was actually like, I don't know that I've actually been sick in over a year. So
okay.
anyway.
Geronimo and Archangel Michael, real fast here. Something fun and upbeat that you can share with us.
Play. I mean, and this is the thing is some people might interpret how I'm all in as like seriousness.
Yeah.
No,
Laser.
I'm like, no, this is like I'm at Christmas for 7 days. Like I'm like, what gifts am I going to get?
Yep.
Like what amazing things are going to unfold for me. Like if I get into the ice bath, like how long can I go? Like what can I experience while I'm there? How much can I get into my deep meditation? Like yesterday, or 2 days, whatever day it was, I was in there and I had learned Joe Dispenza's new clearing of the energy centers. I did that, 4 minutes gone easily. I was like, oh my gosh, becoming love. Like when you're in the cold water and you just become love, your whole body warms up and you don't even feel it. Like I have a video of my son because he's 9 years old and he likes to go all in like I do. So he tried it and he was standing in there. He's like, oh, this is so cold. And I'm like, just focus on loving your heart. And then immediately he's just go.
But that's what Wim Hof does when he swims the Arctic waters or whatever. He has a way of creating his own energy so that his body temp stays where it is. He doesn't turn into a popsicle right away.
Right. And truly what you're trying to accomplish, other than what he's doing,
Yeah.
for the average person, is just like the dopamine hit that is 250% more than what you'd normally make, which is the happiness hormone. It's also like for anybody who's neurodivergent, like myself. So it means like you're more creative, you find it hard to stay on task with things. This will get you so much like accomplishing
Can we
things
tackle all
easily.
this from a completely different perspective? Half of us out there, if not 99%, 99.9%, have reasons why we can't. It could be anything.
Why we can't what?
It doesn't matter. It could be a relationship, why we can't leave the job to get a better one. We can't go see Joe Dispenza. We can't hire you. We've got, and I'll give you 3 or 4 to start, but we have all these reasons, millions of reasons why we can't. It doesn't matter what it is. We can't be here. You know, we've got those neighbors we're having fights with. We've got my story is, my problem is, my health
That's
situation
the number
is.
one problem, is we get in our own way.
Yeah, and all of it is totally valid in the sense that we're feeding energy to it. We put our focus there, and we don't realize that the picture is so big we can go in any direction we want. So can you talk to us about how self-limiting we often are without knowing it? We think it's totally real. We put on the news, we react. It's
Most
this,
of the
it's
time
that.
you're reacting actually from something that happened a long time ago to you. So it's just triggering this new event is triggering the old event. And that's why I help people to understand that if you can go back and heal those original events that are hijacking you in these moments and you're not being present. Because like, think about a mom who ask her kids and her husband or whatever to keep the house neat, right? And take their shoes off before they come in the house, right? She sees her husband carrying in groceries and doesn't take off his shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Now, most women would be like, he's bringing home groceries, right? Oh my God, that's amazing. This woman, in this particular one, sees that he's wearing his shoes and loses it. So doesn't see the good, focuses on the shoes, and immediately tells herself the story of, nobody listens to me. I waste my energy, my time. They don't appreciate me. They aren't listening to me. That's because there's other information in her nervous system that happened previously. So that explosion of like her being like, why are you wearing your shoes? And he's like, I have groceries. I can't, take them off right now. Is really just the energy that has been stored in the nervous system looking for a way out. And it comes from, maybe her childhood where she was trying to speak up about a health condition she had. Like, let's say I know a client who had a urinary tract infection. She kept telling her family, I have something wrong with me. Like, I know when I need to go to the bathroom, but I'm just going to the bathroom in my pants because I have this problem. And everybody's like, no, you're doing it for attention, like, just get to the bathroom. Why are you creating all these issues? Well, so that woman created a belief that nobody listened to her, that what she had to say wasn't valuable. So let's say if that woman were older and having a family and in this situation, all that frustration that didn't get healed of people not listening to her comes out when her husband walks home, and that's just one event in which it would come out. And if it's not healed, if it was healed, her parasympathetic nervous system would see the groceries and go, I have the most amazing husband. I have the most beautiful family. I feel supported. I feel loved, appreciated.
We have the ability to create some baggage or echoes.
Right.
Echoes
So
or
your
shadow
nervous system,
radar. Yeah.
Yeah, your nervous system, depending on which mode it's in, sees the world in a particular way. So if you're in fear, you're looking for the predators. You're looking for the people who are trying to hurt you. If you are in the parasympathetic, you're looking for how you're being supported and loved and appreciated. It's just a different way of seeing the world. And it's up to you.
Let's take it to gratitude as an opening, that doorway to get to the appreciation, to flip the switch. So you get out of what you know, get out of my problem is, and start connecting and allowing. We have so much energy. We can go any direction with it. We don't realize that. We have no limits. Good luck with that. But you talk about gratitude, episode 2, Angels, Positivity, and Love. See Amy Stark in it. But you touch on.
We don't have limits. Can I just say, we don't have limits?
Yeah, no limits.
We in our mind, we limit ourselves. but we really don't have limits. And even I'm still understanding this, but you know,
Can we
as I
ask
was
for a sign from the universe right now? Can Amy Stark, I don't know when the episode's coming out, this because the fall, September of 2023, but go ahead. People are going to see this. Why don't you give us a little demonstration so people can text you or comment on this video, contact her directly too. Info at
so tell them how I've broken
transformational.com.
limits.
No, just give us how can I ask for the universe for a sign? I've listened to Amy Stark today. I then turn around and I ask the universe, I need something big. Take us.
I don't think the universe likes to be held hostage.
Oh my God. Okay. You can ask for a sign. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, you can ask for a sign, but putting a limitation on it, if it being big is.
Oh yeah, no, something. I mean,
like,
it could be a little bird on the back patio.
right.
Or
Yeah,
a
you can
vulture.
ask for anything. So one thing I do recommend people have is like a symbol or two that represents and reminds them that they're connected and on their path. So for me, dimes became like, if I saw a dime on the ground, I just knew that that meant like I'm on the right path. If I see a feather, I know that my angels are with me. You know, that I'm making the right decisions and everything's going to work out fine. So when you were asking me about the limitations, like I could sit here and I could tell you the ways in which I've broken the limitations. And, you know, and that's partly what my purpose is here on the planet Earth, is to share that these things can be overcome. Like I had 30 years of chronic illness where at 9 years of age, my doctor said, Amy, let's take out your immune system. Or I wish I could take out your immune system and replace it with something new. I'm like, how can I move on like from this? Like, what can we do? Like, am I just going to be on medicine and be miserable the rest of my life? And at 42 years old, my DNA was sequenced and I have the immune system of a 28-year-old. So I broke
That's
limits
going
by,
full circle. You got shed all the illnesses.
right, because I did a lot of childhood trauma healing, which, you know, that childhood trauma is related to mental illness, chronic illness, and addiction. And they've shown that when you work on your trauma, you live longer. And like I was able to reverse my immune system because I calmed the triggers in my life. Like I became more present, more loving, more resilient, more whole, because I no longer was getting hijacked by these things all the time. I broke limits in the lab with my energy. I mean, I was told to change the pH of water and I changed the pH of water, but I did not change the particles that were in the water, which is impossible. So, or considered impossible. But so
You
I
broke a law of physics, right?
law of physics, yes, because I was, yeah, and then she told me I had to change the amount of particles that were in the water. And so I put particles in the water to make it more acidic, you know, based on our laws here. I'm not supposed to be able to run DC current from my body, but I do, which means I've started 2 dead batteries in cars, 2 separate cars, 2 separate times with my energy.
But is this like, I'm going to just pull a quote out of a comedy movie, but is this psychosomatic at all? I mean, can you start fires? I'm kidding. That's
that's one of the things that I said at the event. I was like, I want to start trying to figure that out.
Oh, man.
So when I was 16 years old, I was told I broke my lower back and I was told I would never play soccer again. I would never have a stand-up job or a sit-down job.
Yep.
When the doctor told me that in New York City, he's an expert. And he, honestly, I was grateful to meet him because I had been saying that there was something wrong with my lower back. And they didn't expect that a 16-year-old who played soccer, a healthy young lady, would have that problem. Anyway, he told me that. And I remember where I was sitting and I remember saying, no, in my head, no, that's not going to be my experience. That's not the rest of my life. 9 months later, I healed my back. The radiologist called the doctor to make sure I was the same girl that had broken her back because my back was stronger than before I broke it.
Yes, and these are just start a YouTube channel with just those stories because
right.
A lot of people don't just accept a bleak prognosis. I snuck into the New York City Marathon in '95. So I hadn't trained past 14 miles, but a guy gave me his number. It's like a 4 or 5 hour marathoner. Now I was pretty confident I could just wing it. And I did, and I didn't really look at the watch. Now, this is the worst thing I've ever done because, I mean, I had no business. I've run for 40 years, but I came in at 2:59:57 by pure chance. So I think Angels had lined that one up. I crossed the line. That guy put it up on his wall as if he had run it. But the problem is I had real knee pain afterwards, as you can imagine. I way exceeded my threshold. So double chondromalacia in New York. Hopefully we didn't have the same doctor. It was the Knicks knee doctor, Dr. Norman Scott. And he's a wonderful doctor. Use him. But he hates runners. So he said, I'd never run again. It was all over. Double chondromalacia. His head nurse knows him really well. Pulls me aside. Hey, he hates runners. Let me show you some exercises. You need to get to the pool. Do running in a pool without touching anything. You simulate running and you'll come back. And I did. And it was fine. But I got to mention, like, half the time we hear it, we take it as gospel. It only reinforces the situation. Right. Go see your doctor, get the medicine prescriptions, do your whatever you're supposed to do. But there's always a broader possibility and timeline or lifeline the way things unfold.
Right, exactly. And there was a gentleman at the event that was talking to me about my experiences, and he was like, I want to understand, like, how are these people getting up out of their wheelchairs? And I'm like, well, sometimes it's just a nerve that needs to fire that hasn't been firing, right? I mean, I saw a woman who was jumping up and down and saying, my legs work, my legs work, my legs work. Like, I couldn't believe watching her. I mean, she was jumping about this much off the ground.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes it's as easy as that. Other times, if you have, you know, cancers all over your body or something like that, like Joe Dispenza talks about those get in remission, we'll say. And when that's changing matter, so it takes a little bit longer, I would assume, than, you know, just firing the right nerves, right? Because that's just electricity running through the body. So healings come in different ways. And just like myself right now, I'm going through a detox of, you know, whatever microbes that no longer serve me because they were keeping me having food allergies. And I'm really hoping that that's the case, that I can just eat whatever I want after this, because I am limitless, because I have to unlearn this idea that, you know, once I have those things, this and that and the other thing is going to happen to me. I have to let go of that, because I do remember it.
You mean lobster and steak, right? Just kidding.
No,
okay,
don't do that.
Okay, so another guest at Angels, Positivity, and Love, to plug somebody else, is Kimberly Meredith, who will be on soon this year. You can check it out. But she's been tested at IONS and elsewhere and so on. But she's the classic healer for medical conditions. And literally, she's been tested galore. A lot of incredible stuff happens in her presence. But nodes, I think they're called, lymph node stuff, that lymphatic system, that stuff for dissolving it, it's a little mind bending. And I know it's been all over the map for, you know, those who say they can do it, and then you find out later they're serving time in a Brazilian prison cell.
Right.
After the fact. I'm sure he was legit at one point down the road.
At one point, I don't understand that. Like, because I've seen some stuff like
bad choices. Let's just say that. Bad decision making. Okay, terrible. But so there's a lot more than we allow for. And all this is just allowing the universe to do its job, and for you to restore a little bit of your flow to a broader level. How about that?
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, once I got over, like, I had the scientific mind, I was a science teacher, right? Once I got over that there was other possibilities, that's what invited this energy of play and creativity. And when I would work with people doing energy healing, I would like see these miracles happening before my eyes. And I'm like, how in the world is this person who couldn't run or walk now running, you know, and fine? Like, all I did was reconnect the energy and get it flowing, and now they're okay. And enough of those happening caused me to keep wanting to know more. Like, how do I keep opening up to more and more possibility? And that's why we're here. It's just to keep playing with this understanding that we are both the creator and part of the creation.
And the way folks out there in the audience can start is just observe. Catch yourself when Amy says something at any point during the show or episode 2. And how did you react? If you're like, oh, no way, or yeah, there are a lot of skeptics or fakes out there, or this or that, or anything, catch yourself.
Yeah.
Don't spend the energy that way. Allow is my recommendation.
There are a lot of, you know, people who are fakes in any industry, you know, people who have
or who aren't efficient,
or maybe they're even intending to help, and then they just don't have the skills or the knowledge. Because that's the thing, is like, one of the things that when I took the test, they were like, because I was being certified to be able to do research, you know, to work on like healing cells or whatever, and people have them actually take measurements and things like that. And they want to be sure that I can do what I say I can do, right? So I had to prove that I could heal myself. And they scan my body using NASA technology, and then the same thing for the other person. And then they had to pick where they wanted to be healed, because I could be like, oh, it's really easy for me to heal knees or whatever. But she's like, I need my throat healed or whatever, and I had to do that, and I was able to prove that. The point of me telling you this is that some people don't realize that if they are not constantly working on their energy and healing themselves, they will they're it's called entanglement in the quantum field. They're entangling with their energy, and you don't want that energy to get transferred to the other person. So like if you are not healed, you could be transferring some of the things to the other person. So they were checking, do you have any major illnesses, before we certify you to be working with people who are ill? And I was like, no. Like they're like, heart disease, no. Like, they asked me a bunch of questions.
Interesting. Okay. And so this, again, is another way to say it. Just if people can allow for just a little more cultivation of inner calm, peace, letting the natural, your state of your body, your state of your connection to all there is, to just flow through you more, a little less judging, analysis, thinking, worrying, stress, fear, fight or flight.
All that's in the fight or flight.
Yeah, I did it. I did it. I beat you to the punch for the first time ever in hours of conversation. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put Joy and Charlotte up. I want to go off the reservation. No offense to the Chiefs. Here's Joy and Charlotte, two angels. I hope I said that earlier in the show. If we can put our hand up and let these two angels do the chaperoning, only the highest intent and love. I'm not picking up anything that you're processing from the Joe Dispenza days. But I put my hand up, only love, and you put your hand up. You're in Colorado. I'm in Texas. We're kind of neighbors.
Sorry, I just felt the energy.
Wouldn't you be my neighbor? And anybody out there, I'm going to suggest that they can see rainbow light, or at least pink light, or yellow if they're nervous, blue if it's Charlotte kicking in. You'll get what you get. This is years from now when this is a popular show. Watch this at least 6 times. Make sure you got 10 friends watching it 6 times. Let's get the subscription levels up. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, even if it's redundant. Okay, what do you first see? Do you see? Do you feel? Do you hear? Let's go for it.
You asking me?
Yeah, but you're not changing any pH here.
Let's see. I see a lot of violet. The color violet.
Cool. And here, why don't you just cup your hands and let angels come in, get whatever you'll allow for in your hands, and enjoy a little light show. And then bring it into your heart, but have it be a constructive process part of your day. Ask for whatever you privately want to ask for. Just be like, hey, sock it to me. I'll take the entire gift shop from the hotel with me. Yep. Now, talk to us about no limits again, but from you don't have to know anything. You don't have to know the lingo. You don't have to take a class. How can a person just ask, allow, ask, and receive is what I always say. I forgot it because I can forget everything. But the point is, how do we get to here, and how can a person have a mini miracle right now?
Letting go, getting into your heart space, because your heart space is much stronger than your brain, and electromagnetically. And then if you can sync up with your brain after that, then that's great. Then you get used to it and sync. And that's when miracles happen.
And that's also when you get your tasks done in a more conscious way, and it takes sometimes half the time. You can actually enjoy mowing your lawn, not hit the flowers, maybe have a little music in, but you actually, and it feels like a relaxing meditative walk, but you're pushing a mower. Now that's good. Joe didn't say we're going to go do a meditative walk and suddenly all of you are given electric mowers and you're mowing the hotel lawn. That would have been really funny.
Well, somebody asked me, like, how do you guys not walk into each other? And I'm like, you're in a trance state and you can just see and feel where people are. Obviously, you can like look at them, but you can focus on your future and do the meditation, and nobody's bumping into each other. But here, what we're talking about is getting into the present moment. So when you get into your heart space and you sync it up with your brain, you're getting into the present moment. And that's the only place where you can create. You're in the parasympathetic nervous system. You're starting to pick up the yawns. When you're in the parasympathetic nervous system, your energy actually expands. So now you become more coherent, which is, if you study heart math institute work, you'll understand about coherence. And coherence, it really has to do with, again, the energy of the body, which is then translated to, I told you I was wearing an aura ring, which is measuring my readiness and my heart rate variability. And heart rate variability has to do with how resilient you are. So a heartbeat that is like ba-boom, 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 like very consistent, is not very resilient. You want a heartbeat that's sort of like somebody who's like, maybe, is like, hey man, they're not stressed about anything, right? They're just like expanded into the, energy, and they're relaxed. And that's what we're talking about, is getting into this relaxed in the heart, awake in the brain, present moment where we're in coherence and we can call in the things that we want to call in.
And now I got to do a self plug. I helped a guy who's fantastic, gave me a testimonial early on, who was head of heart math and literally like a temporary CEO or something. I know he had a crystal bed, incredible fellow, incredibly credentialed, incredible for everything he still does like today. But so heart math definitely tackles it a certain way. Can you explain heart math just in more regular parlance for us, and how they, if you want, just so that people can put it on the map?
Yeah, so they've just been studying coherence for many, many years, and connecting with the earth and the electromagnetic field and the quantum field, essentially. And just, they have a receiver, I think, that goes onto your ear, where you can figure out, like, for instance, if you have a stressful thought, like it'll show that you're out of coherence versus when you're in the present moment and you're relaxed. So it's really about, like, that particular tool, for instance, is about learning when you derail yourself from who you really are, right? Because the parasympathetic nervous system is really who you are. You are love. You are expanded. You are creative. You have access to your intuition. You have your best immune system when you're in your parasympathetic nervous system. And what this receiver thing does is it teaches you. I remember when I tried it, I was like, this is really annoying first, because it's like, you're fine, and then it's like something stressful, like your mom, like you got to call her, and it's like goes red, and you're like, damn it.
And then it goes double red.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, I gotta come back. And so it teaches you to retrain your brain. And I have it, so forget that. Like, you can go buy that, you can get that, and it's probably
They're going to be putting that on prisoners one day, not to be morose about it, but
they're actually, Joe Dispenza is working with prisoners and getting great results. But anyway,
I was being facetious. Okay.
no, I know.
Okay.
But here, this, if you want to retrain your brain, because I started doing this very early on, and this works great. You can either put something in your pocket, or every time you sit on the toilet or whatever, every time you go to your car, something that you're doing frequently, you're going to want to say what you're grateful for. And by doing that, you're training your brain to switch in the moment to being grateful. And when you are grateful, you are in receiving mode. You're also in the parasympathetic nervous system. And eventually you start to train your brain, which then becomes the way that you see the world, is like, oh, what do I need to be grateful for? Because that's going to come up. Like, that's important to me. Saying things that I'm grateful for, which then causes you to have a more expanded field more often, which has a healthier field, which then has a better immune system, which has more creativity and more access to your intuition. So anytime that you are like, so I basically, in New York City, when I'd go to pay for something, I would touch a rock that was in my pocket, and I would say what I was grateful for, and that would change my energy, but also my thoughts, which then changed the rest of my life.
And so I'll ad lib another way, and I'm not ever trying to be glib, but I do take a lighthearted approach to everything, so forgive me. But we're all one giant doorway walking around. Most of the time we're shut tight. We're not even like 1 millimeter open. Everything that we're talking about is simply, can you allow for a little more flow, a little more access to life, to love, to happiness, to just creativity, name enthusiasm, to sports performance, to business performance. You're wondering why for those 6 months everybody said yes, sales were through the roof, and then you were up here too much. There's some sort of an on and off switch, and you're on when you're allowing, letting go, you're one with all. That's when you're hitting the hole in one. Your golf score is fantastic, but the second you're thinking, you're shanking. Heart math would help golfers quite a bit.
It's
You just
true.
hit the
And
woods.
I was an athlete, and I know for sure the more you think about it, the more you screw it up. I mean, and there's so much research about this, like where you can not even shoot a basketball, but you can actually envision yourself shooting that basketball, and you will improve your ability to shoot a basket and,
Yeah.
and get it in by like 27% or something like it's not small. Like you will actually improve. And they know that the brain, and this goes even deeper down the hole when you start to really look at the brain and its capacity to do things. So one is they studied people who were playing the piano and seeing how the brain lit up, and then they told the people, go in the other room and pretend like you're playing the piano, and they watched the brain light up in the same way. So that means that the brain doesn't know the difference between what's happening and what it's envisioning. So if you really want to get good at envisioning your life and bringing that in, that's why you want to envision it. It begins to release chemicals and hormones within your body to make you feel like you've already had it. And once you've already had it, you don't go out and look for it. You become it. So then you become this large magnet to this life that you want. So you want to keep envisioning and bringing in this new life because you are it already. Like you just naturally attract it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the concept of manifesting and everything else. And I'm going to mention those Olympic skiers. You see them all the time. They're 10 minutes away from being called on the giant slalom. They're still wearing just boots, no skis. They're in the snow. They got their poles. They got those big headphones. They're listening to their music. They've got their, goggles on, and they're just going through the motions, maybe with their eyes closed, listening to the music. They're going through the turns. They know 2 lefts, 1 right, 2 lefts, and they're visualizing, but that's going to give them the gold medal performance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in every sport nowadays. It's flow performance, or either you or one of the other people out there who's been a guest talks about this on one of the other shows. So it's all connected, and we are much more powerful, even in the brain, setting goals, setting where you want to be, like life, soulmate, partners, house, whole nother geography, a whole nother experience in life, a whole nother plateau, a level that you can go to because you feel limited now. The thing is not to get caught with where you're putting your focus. If it's on the negative side, I'll do it that way, the limiting side. And
right.
so
You never want to say what you don't want, because where you put your energy, that's where you put your focus, your energy goes, right?
Unless you're on a run saying, I don't want $330 million in revenue. And you keep saying that, because I'm telling you, it's sometimes some of the stuff that we know we want feels like we might not be worth it.
Right.
Or we don't deserve it, or we haven't done enough of this, or we got to suffer more, or we got to, my story is, my problem is. So I have a sudden new technique in the last 2 months, which is, it's okay. Say, I don't want the best soulmate in the world, because you don't think you can have it. You're not comfortable saying, I want the greatest soulmate in the world. You're not ready yet, because you're never going to be ready. I'm going to just give somebody a little hint here. You can go through 10 more years of therapy and still be right where you started.
You need somebody who's going to evolve with you.
Yeah. So if you're saying it in a way that makes you laugh on a run, I'm not ready for that gorgeous hunk of a man who speaks 6 languages. I can do it. 6 languages and keeps me entertained. I feel like I'm being swept off of my feet, and it's 10 years later and he still loves me just as much. Put it out there. Be like, I'm not, I don't want that Fabio who speaks 6 languages, who's amazing, sweeps me off my feet. But if you can do it in a way that you're laughing, you're actually attracting it to you.
It's true.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I don't want 400 million in revenue. We've gone up now. Hang around. We'll be at 500 million in a second.
In a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the other way that I approach it is actually look at your programming around not feeling worthy. And one of the techniques that I teach is EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. You could tap and be like, why do I feel like I'm unworthy of this amazing person in my life? Why do I feel like I don't deserve to be happy? And things will pop up, like things that you weren't expecting, because you're starting to move the energy of the body. You're getting into the present moment. When you tap on the body, your body's like, oh, here we are. We're back in the present moment. That's where you can move energy. And that's where you can be in the parasympathetic, see and feel like how, like maybe you're storing this energy in your shoulder. and you're like, oh God, all my shoulders hurting. You can tap on that and you can say, even though my shoulder is hurting me, I deeply love and accept myself. Even though now I'm feeling and remembering second grade and the teacher that said to me, you're never going to amount to anything. You're just a troublemaker, and
Those
then
second grade teachers are tough.
I know. And then you're like, oh my God, I had no idea that was in there. There was something on that came up recently and I was like, man, I can't believe that was in there. Now I'm
But it's
forgetting.
much simpler than people realize in terms of if you're a ball of energy, your system, your body's system is ready to go. It's ready to go in any direction. This is just a nice way to draw the attention in a proper way for a release of energy that's not serving so you can get moving again.
Right. So that you become a coherent signal. Right. So like if you're saying I want to attract this partner, but your energy is like, I'm unworthy of that partner, they're mixed signals. It's not coherent. That's why we want to remove whatever's incoherent here so that it gets in alignment with, your path of finding the person. And here's the thing. The reason why we do like, meditations, or we envision things, or we have mantras and we say the things that we want, is because it tags in our brain that it is something that we are interested in having and experiencing. And when our brain tags something like that, it's like putting it into a Google search. Your brain is going to be like, where is that? Where is that? And then all of a sudden you're going to notice somebody in the coffee shop who's been there for, years going there, but you've never talked to them or noticed them because you weren't tagging that person as somebody you wanted to meet, right? Because you didn't realize that they had those qualities, right? But suddenly your energetic body, your intuition, your knowingness, the divine power, like the quantum field is like, you're now ready to see that this person has been here the whole time. And the person's like, oh, I come here all the time. And you're like, I've never seen you. And they're like, well, but I come here all the time. There's no way that we wouldn't have in the last 10 years not seen each other. And they might even go, I've seen you here before. I know exactly what drink you get. And it was because you were not in attunement with what you wanted, which matched what that person wanted. So, we have to get clear with what we want so our brain and our body and our spirit team and everybody can get on board and get you there.
So everything is bigger than we think it is. Everything is bigger than thinking itself. Human thinking is not the end game. It's not going away. So therefore, there's got to be some reconciliation where you figure out how to get out of your own way to let the universe do its job and bring you exactly what you want, which, by the way, half of us don't even know what we actually want. We're just doing circling around the airport. We never land. We never go to a destination. We're just circling. And somehow we have magically refueled.
Most of us don't feel worthy enough to ask for what we want because that means that we have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
So being vulnerable is actually where it's at. And if you haven't listened to what Brene Brown talks about, she's a psychologist who's been studying, or actually maybe she's a social or.
Is she Broken Open, that one?
She did. Totally forgetting the two talks right now. But anyway, you can go on Netflix. She has one of them on there. Oh, something
that might have been Elizabeth Lesser.
Becoming brave or something like that. And the other one was being vulnerable or something like that.
Yeah.
Those two talks are amazing. And she talks about the research about the people who are happiest, who live the longest. I believe she said they'll live the longest and the happiest are the people who are able to be vulnerable and say, listen, like, I'm sorry that I did X, Y, and Z, or I, this is what I want. People who are willing to go there are the happiest because they realize that they're fallible and they want to connect with other people. And that's what helps us to connect is when we are vulnerable. Like, we want to hear people's story of triumph. We also want to hear about their failures because we want to know that they're real. Like, a lot of times people in this community are perfectionists, and we become perfectionists because we're very sensitive to other people's energy and we can sense what other people want. And eventually we wind up losing ourselves because we get so consumed by everybody that's around us that we wind up becoming perfectionists, and then we are trying to not be vulnerable and show that, like, and we wind up not wanting to be vulnerable and showing that we're hurting or that we need help or whatever, because everybody thinks that we've got it all together because we appear to have it all together, but we're very unhappy inside. And that's because we've lost who we really are. And we want to get back to that. We want to get back to being like, no, I don't want to keep doing the bake sales. I don't want to keep being the only one that drives the kids to the soccer practice. I don't want to be the only one that is running these late meetings or whatever it may be. When we become the person who's really dependable, of course, other people are going to be asking us to do these things. But if we are suffering because of it, it's not of our highest and best good. And we need to ask for what we need.
I've got Amy Stark's next, her book title in the future. To heal is to make whole. That's your book title. We did it here and now.
Thank you.
But there was a quote I came up with before the show. That's not my quote, but it's from an Olympic announcer for the high jump. Obviously it's Olympics. You're going to have to figure out who said this. You have to learn how to lose in order to win. You have to learn how to lose in order to learn how to win, because you're going to lose a lot more than you were going to win. I thought that was the most incredible line ever. It's kind of tied in with this. Look, we're stuck in a lot of analysis. It's what's going on with disclosure, or scientists talking about consciousness, or all of the rest. In 5 minutes flat, anybody out there can go full psychic. It's listening, just basic listening. The universe, everything, birds, trees.
Whispering, yeah.
Yeah, they're talking to you. There's a flow that's greater than us, that's beyond thinking and grasping. And even the science is still chasing a little bit in there, no matter how accurate it is. You have it now is my message. Amy Stark, you have it now. Here's another one of those Bic lighter moments. You're sponsored not by Bic, the company, but go ahead and ask for a little extra sparkle. Pick any crew you want, any Unconditional Love figures out there. Got a little extra? Okay, and then Dull Knife. Wisdom with some humor. Native American chief. He's so cool. Have him weigh in on this topic and keep it super real. I'll hold it with two hands. Sorry.
He's saying just trust your heart, which is really ultimately what it comes down to.
And now, last but not least, or something like that, here's Geronimo Young. Action, dry wit, humor. He does not beat around the bush.
He showed me a couple of things, but essentially he was saying, march to the beat of your own drum. Don't compare yourself to others. When you're coming from the heart space, it's going to be your own path. And if you start comparing your path to others, you lose joy. Right. And, the other thing that the one before Geronimo, I think it was Geronimo.
Dull Knife. Yeah.
Or Dull Knife was saying, just again, the play, like, if you're a professional athlete, you enjoy the game, like you're playing the game. Don't forget why you showed up, because we can tend to think like, okay, now I have to be the greatest in that field, right? But you showed up because of your love for the game, because it makes you feel good. It's a full expression of who you really are, and have fun with that. Like, don't get too stressed out about the end result.
And you hear a lot about Olympic athletes who realize way after the fact they spent way too much time on perfection, not realizing that by being in their heart, they don't just have amazing performance athletically, but that can be in all departments or categories or compartments of their life. It's all the same, and very few coaches go for the holistic approach. Instead of just perfection on the balance beam, it's what you did at the Joe Dispenza retreat for 7 days. It's embracing the moment,
right?
Connecting.
Right. On Netflix, they have a great show called Breaking Point, where they're diving into these professional athletes' lives and just showing how stressed out they are. And it's hard for me to watch, because I'm like, I could, give them some tips, but like, that we need to be focusing more on mindset and healing for these professional athletes, because they're amazing athletes and their mind is taking them out of the game.
Michael Phelps.
Yeah. Oh, he's just one of many.
He's like the poster child almost for this.
Right. And so my son wants to be a professional athlete. Like, he wants to play football or soccer, and, he's 9, but we are already working on the mindset, the meditation, getting into the present moment. Those are things that, like, because you could be the best kicker, let's say, like, kicker for the NFL to take the winning kick. But if your mind gets in the way of your foot, basically, you can screw this up. So they're not really teaching both at the same time, or at least teaching one and then the other. And that is the mind and then the body, for these professional athletes. And I feel bad for them because they're kind of just like wondering why they're getting all this anxiety, or why they're missing these hits, or these passes or throws or kicks or whatever. And it really comes down to how well you can get back into your parasympathetic nervous system and enjoy the process rather than worry about the outcome.
PSNS, parasympathetic nervous system. Got it. Okay. How can we just take a breath? How can we slow down in the moment? Do you have like a surefire bit of advice again that they're going to play this over and over again?
So this was a cool little thing I learned on TikTok just yesterday. So, and I anything that I learn on TikTok, I try out myself before I share it. And it works. So this was cool. Just take your fingers, cross them over, and where your knuckles are, and squeeze, and it puts you in the parasympathetic nervous system.
Ah.
Do you feel the energy just flow down your back?
No, but I'm like a little removed sometimes. So I'm like not the best to ask about this.
I tend to feel exactly what people feel. And that's one of the things I was feeling, is that the energy was draining. I love it. That's just one of the ways. Putting your hands over your heart, this releases oxytocin, which helps you feel more love in your life. It's one of the most healing chemicals you can have in your body. And doing this helps you.
And exhale like a whale. Think of the worst person you don't like that always bugs you in your brain. Blow. Send them out over Russia. I love making her laugh. Okay.
You always make me laugh.
I know. And that's part of the point, is it's not about having it down, because your brain's going to then seize on all these techniques. And 2 weeks from now, you're going to fool yourself that you're doing it and you're not. And you realize 6 days later, you're like, wow, my brain's taken over and hijacked the exercise. You need it's being able to stop on a dime. Buddhists talk about this, dropping everything and just, pretty squirrel. Dogs do it well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so the point of life is not to like go up into the mountain. Oh gosh.
And stay there. No, you're going to get it again.
And meditate. It's to embody this on a daily basis as a parent, as an employee, as a husband or a wife, to become this enlightened being all the time.
The top of the mountain's bare. Great views. You go up there, no thinking. You get the full big picture, but you have to come back down and live. And life happens in the valleys or the sides of the mountain. I'm quoting all the Zen stuff right now. And so it's a constant trek up and down the mountain. It could be decades before you get back up to the top, or 2 lifetimes, to quote Teresa Shantz, who you like a lot and been on the panel with. Yeah, she's jumping on to panel number 2. But the second we get off, I'm going to have Amy, with the busiest schedule of all, trying to line up our original panelists, Rachel Garrett, Teresa Shantz, and Amy Stark. StarkTransformation.com. Please check out our show, Stark Transformation Show.
The Stark Transformation Show.
Yeah. And check out her guests. Who's been your favorite guest that you've had, or 5 of them?
Obviously you.
Oh, hey, you're the second person this week who said that, so I'm not going to let it go to my head. You're a good judge of character, of course, but why do you say that? Let's go ahead and just go really blow this brain out here more. Why? Am I entertaining? Is there something to it? Is it?
You're magical. You're magical. Yeah.
I need to hear that this month, actually, to be honest. I've been getting pummeled by life. Okay. No, it happens.
You are magical. You definitely are. The experiences that I had with you from the very beginning have been life-changing, but also very unforgettable. I will never forget there's so many, but one of them was when you were like, imagine yourself surfing, and then you get out of the water, and then you smell the local flowers, and I was like, I got the local flowers. And then Audrey Hepburn, she came up with a new smell, and I smelled the new smell, and it was like unbelievable. And the light show that happened, there was an angel that just showed up in my room. There were so many things, Michael. It was absolutely amazing. And
there's Audrey for you. If anybody wants her to move in the photo, let me do it this way. She can wink, smile, nod, shoulder waggle, hands move. What will you allow for is really the big question in life for everything. You might say, I don't have enough money to go to Joe Dispenza to hire Amy Stark, but you do. Just get out of that thinking and now allow for it. What does allowing for it look like? Go on the morning walk. Oh, you weren't going for a morning walk? Well, start. I'm going to be hammering people here. Get out of your routines. They're essentially circling the airport. You never land. You never go to Bora Bora. It's boring.
And that's why Joe Dispenza has us starting at 6 a.m. and 4 a.m. Like he's disrupting your whole life, like your rhythms. And probably one of the reasons why I was even more susceptible to getting sick, because I was getting less sleep for day after day. And I had just come from somewhere where I wasn't sleeping that much either. And so I was like, oh gosh.
What's Audrey say about Joe Dispenza?
He said he's the man of the hour. I think he's messing with you, or she's messing with you.
About Joe?
She said that he is the man of the hour as a joke. She was poking you.
Oh, okay. But I don't get the joke. I had to walk back in on a dad joke.
Because you're a man in the room.
Oh,
you're
okay,
the physical man in the room.
Okay, got it. That's okay. I'm a very literal person. It's painful at times, but it's helped me quite a bit on the spiritual front to be able to help others. I got to mention, okay,
she was kind of like, he's the man of the hour as a joke.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to share something here. Okay. This is going to be so abstract. Hopefully there's no way anybody's going to figure it out. There's a podcast out west. I didn't ask to be on the podcast. I just LinkedIn. I got 12,000 contacts. So I occasionally send a bunch of bullets under a thank you in advance, my name, my website, and some bullets so that they know I've got something of a track record. I sent it to a person and they went off on me. They went off and they were like, this, negative that, negative this, negative that. I was like, oh my God. So I blocked him on social media and everything. Yeah. But that was a heck of an experience. My dog got sick after that. I had to clear the house. I had to clear me. It wasn't one of those triggering things though. I didn't ask for the setup here. It just will happen. People can have a reaction because we're talking a lot of high vibe stuff. And they're in the field. They're a psychic medium or something like that. And I know people have been on the show and I'm like, oh my God, all I did was send a LinkedIn invite with no request except to connect. That's it. And it was like a huge nuclear bomb went off. And I was like, wow.
That's the stuff that they haven't processed. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder, do I ever want to send out a LinkedIn invite again? I was like, that was a lot.
Don't let that keep you from connecting.
Yeah, so a reminder to all of us, we're going to hit obstacles. It's second you buying into what Amy said, Joe Dispenza said, what Geronimo said, Audrey said, or I said, and you had a little progress. It's one step forward, sometimes 5 steps back, 20 steps forward, 2 steps back. The brain has a way of jumping in, hijacking ego, psyche. What's Geronimo say about staying the course on your specific, authentic life path?
He said, I'm on the path.
Yeah, for you, we know that. But what about the audience members out there?
Okay, so what do they need to know?
Yeah, he's a fearless, peaceful, amazing warrior, all about action. His advice to everybody about just letting it fly.
He just said, again, I don't know if it was before he said this or one of the other guys, but tap into your heart, march to the beat of your own drum, follow the path that feels right for you. Not everybody's path is going in the same place or in the same direction, right? Just take your own path. That's all you're here for. And don't look at the other people and how fast they're going up their path or how slow they're going or how easy their journey is or how hard it is. It could be raining over there. It could be sunny, whatever. It doesn't matter.
You could have a fairy sitting on your shoulder waving
journey? High. What's that?
You could have a fairy on your shoulder waving high, and that will short circuit everything, by the way, when you do see that.
Right.
Okay.
And even more, just to piggyback on what he says, is what I teach people in the Start Transformation show, in my classes, anytime I get a chance to talk about this stuff, is that you want to be resilient. You want to be packing your bags for your trip. First of all, you want to know your destination. Most people don't know their destination. That's what they want. They want to know where they're going. What's important to you. Start then preparing for that. So I wear an aura ring to see how I'm doing. How am I growing as a person? Is my grain-free diet working for me? Are the ice baths working for me? Is my meditation going to Joe Dispenza? My average heart rate variability is way up after the Joe Dispenza. Why? I cried my eyes out. I released trauma. I released grief, massive grief that I had about things in the past. that's going to make me more present and more healed and more whole and more coherent. You want to have little gauges that you're checking so that you can make this long journey. You want to know, who am I going to listen to? Is it going to be Amy Stark? Is it going to be Michael? Is it going to be Joe Dispenza? Is it going to be these other things? Listen in your heart to the person who resonates with you now. Joe Dispenza didn't resonate with me 5 years ago. Now
Yeah, I
he
still
does.
haven't gotten there all the way yet. But
Right.
you
And
can
I'll
use
tell
your
you,
hands or a pendulum or
I'll tell you something that's
yeah.
interesting. It's like I keep evolving, right? And so does Joe Dispenza, and so does a lot of us, right? And we put out our work at that vibration, and then we move to the next one. And he talked about some of the things that he goes through, like he's been to his own meditation, not his. He's been to other meditation retreats, I should say, just not his own, right? Like that would be weird. And he released stuff, and I heard a difference in his energy, and I resonated more with the energy and frequency that he is now than what he was maybe a couple years ago.
Yep.
And same with my stuff. Sometimes I look at my stuff and I'm like, who is that person? Like I feel so energetically different because I'm always constantly evolving and releasing and becoming the new highest timeline version of myself. So, just because and EFT didn't resonate with me, back in 2010 when I came across it, or 2012, something like that. It resonated with me in 2015. And then I went on this deep dive journey with it, and I was able to apply it and use it with a lot of clients. And I did over 1,000 sessions in just a few, like a year or whatever, or I don't even know, 2 years, something like that. So sometimes things won't resonate with you at the time, but it will later. People listen to my podcast and they'll listen to something that they have already listened to, and they'll get something new from it. You're always learning and evolving and capable of getting the information at a different level. And so just being open to that and not canceling out anybody. Like when I first started out, Esther Hicks was a huge person that I would listen to and I love to listen to. Now I don't really care. If I come across it, great. If I don't, I'm okay. I love now I'm forgetting his name. Oh my gosh, totally went blank.
Eckhart Tolle, Don Miguel Ruiz.
Oh, I love Don Miguel Ruiz. I always support his work. I feel like there is no time that I've ever not resonated with his stuff. He wrote the 4 Agreements. I think that they're definitely the key to living and having a happy life.
Always do your best. Don't take anything personally. There's 2 more.
Don't make assumptions.
Don't make assumptions.
Don't take anything personally. Did you say that one already?
Yeah. So there's still a 4th.
Always. Be impeccable with your word.
Be impeccable with your word. So
which
take
I really feel like.
Good luck with.
Well, so the thing is here's why we take things personally. We forget that the person who is pissing us off or triggering us is actually speaking from their trauma and reacting from their trauma. And if you can come from the state of like, oh, what's coming out of them is just a result of what's happened to them.
Yeah.
It's not about me.
Yeah.
Like I can take the information, but I can realize that it's their journey and what they're going through.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not here to share personal stuff, but I'll do it a different way. So I'm on a committee of some sort, and there's been a lot of stuff going down where I'm getting flack, and it's what you just said. And so the opportunity came to resign in a proper way. Although I just checked with a lot of people, what is a human supposed to do in this exact situation, which is get up from the table, just pull back would be the normal thing. I checked, survey said, Family Feud. I went around and they're like, yes, get up from the table and don't say anything and just be like, hey, when you're ready to continue in a civil manner, tell the people I'll be back. And so I did that, but I forgot my chair. It was a nice folding chair that I'd want to use at, festivals or whatever. So I was like, it's going to be so embarrassing. I got to go back and get my chair in front of this crew. And I hadn't done any more than just like, hey, that's it. So I kept it cool. And I'm like, you know what? Getting that chair, that was an actual opening for me to leave and resign. And it's my out. It's my ticket to not have to participate, put my focus on that stress anymore. So it was a total positive. Angels gave me the best setup ever. But here's the thing, adult males, in society, America, you're usually going to come up with some witty words. I'm more like George Costanza out of Seinfeld. 3 days later to 3 months later, I come up with the comeback I should have said. I feel like I'm so slow on that front. So
that's because you're in your fight or flight. you cannot be creative
Yeah.
when you're in the fight or flight. So you have to learn to turn that off, and then the creativity will come. When you realize it's not about you and you're not being triggered, then you
Yeah.
can come up with a witty thing to say.
So I went in and I told the neutral representative that keeps charge of everything. I was like, I resign. Got my chair, and as I was walking away, I did the one-liner, which was just do your jobs, gentlemen, or whatever, and that was it. So that was my big George Costanza moment. I don't know if anyone ever saw the episode. He's in Cincinnati. They've railed on him for eating all the shrimp and the shrimp cocktail at a meeting, a conference room meeting. And it's the next day he's headed to the airport because they were like, hey, the shrimp store called, and they're all out of shrimp to George. And the next day, the end of the episode, they show his face. He's like, I got the comeback. He throws the wheel into a U-turn. He's going to miss his flight. The screen freezes. He's going back to deliver some one-liner. This is a day later. I mean, I feel like I'm sometimes for that whole thing. And the point here, you don't need to argue. People are going through their own stuff. They're releasing childhood trauma, neighborhood trauma, whatever their demographics are or their social is, So we're all doing this, and it's where listening or just being or being at peace, it's that listening presence or just your presence can go whoop above.
I love when people trigger me, and I know that sounds weird, and I'll tell you why. Because usually it's something that I'm unaware of within my own body and my mind that has gone unchecked. And so when somebody triggers me and I get that response of like, I'm going to get you, or like, you can't talk to me like that, or whatever. Like it would, I catch myself and I'm like, whoa, that's interesting. That's a very, very strong reaction. You definitely have some trauma there. Where is this trauma coming from?
Can you give us one example of one that's clearly resolved? You don't mind sharing out loud. It was from this point in your life and you got rid of it because...
So this recently happened to me. Somebody in my past came back and was like, I'd like to have a conversation with you. And I immediately upon hearing their voice, I was like, I started getting shaky, and because this person was very mean to me.
Yeah.
And from long ago, like not like barely adulthood, mostly like younger. And so immediately I start getting shaky and I'm like, oh gosh, I got to fix this. I got to be nice. I got to play nice. I started going into childhood like programming. And then I was like, whoa. And I started noticing the physical reaction that my body was having. And I was like, nobody's attacking you, Amy, right now. Nobody. You're standing in a beach house, like living your best life. You don't need to go there with this. This is entirely up to you how you handle this. And that caused me to go back into the parasympathetic. What is real? Because when we're triggered, we start looking for predators. We're not in our highest thinking brain. So I go, what is real? Like, what is really happening? Oh, nobody's going to attack me. I'm sitting at the beach. I love it. I'm happier than I've been in a really long time. And this person would like to come in and try to take that happiness from me. Do I want to give that happiness away? Nope.
You don't have to engage. Like, you're not suggesting every single person has to be engaged.
I owe this person nothing. And then all
nothing.
Of a sudden
Don't respond at all.
No, I would rather protect my happiness and my peace. And so I was like, great, I'll handle it in that way and in that manner. And I said, to this person, I said, thank you so much for contacting me. But at this time, I have a lot going on. I don't have the brain space to go there with you. And I would like to maybe talk to you someday in the future, but not now.
Perfect. Okay. So Claire, an angel who's resilient. You've met her before. What does she say about this that you can share? You might just get a compliment for well done.
Well, that was what I was like, well done, Amy. But hold on. Let me.
I'm not psychic at all, but
let me see what she said.
I just try to keep it shut off because it doesn't help anybody else for me to tell you something.
Yeah, she said the amount of growth that you've had has been tremendous, and that's very true. Because we forget, because especially someone like myself, I'm always continuing to evolve. And this past year, I've really dove into my own personal growth, and just to become the greatest, brightest light that I could possibly become. And it has led me to, certain things like ice baths or Joe Dispenza and a lot of inner work. And I really feel like that I'm almost a completely different person. I was thinking that coming up on December is really when I started last year of this like real deep dive again.
That's
almost like
recent too. That's really recent.
I know. Right. Well, I mean, actually, it's coming around the corner again. I mean, it's been 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And that she just said that there's been tremendous growth, and it really, truly has been tremendous growth for me. I really, again, I go all in, and when you're somebody who goes all in, you forget that not everybody goes all in, right? So when you have a reflection from Charlotte who says, you've had tremendous growth, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I really have had tremendous growth.
So Claire said all that, and then Charlotte.
Oh,
What's
Claire,
Charlotte
right?
say for a bravo? Way to handle it efficiently.
Wow, the theme really is to keep listening to your heart. That's what she said. Just keep doing what you're doing, Amy. You're doing it.
Okay, now I'm going to mention something in our backyard or beyond our backyard. The fence is the baby deer. It looks like Bambi the spots. It's so hot here. It's going to be hot for a while.
Yeah.
We're putting water and watermelon out unofficially for assisting there. But when you see the mama licking the baby deer and there's a love moment and you're like, oh my God, Bambi, Disney. Love's a constant. Good luck ever remembering that, because you've got that person from the past who pings you, or you got a committee meeting, or you got this, or you got that, and you react. And all you have to do is, fine, don't go la la land all the way and be like, it didn't happen. That's not what we're talking about. Just create some space to remember that you're separate, in the sense of you're not the trauma. You're not that energy that you don't like. You're not that person. You don't have to put your focus there 100%. You don't have to react or reject. You don't have to judge. You just have to find a way to breathe and get back to Bambi and Mama and constant love, constant inner harmony. You have to find the lingo, though, that works for you. Because me saying any of it, you'll just react to me. Find a way to cultivate, though, your authentic presence, your power, your peace, and so on. Okay.
Right. Well, hold on. I wanted to
follow
say,
up on that.
So for the past week, obviously I've been going through, this detox, and I had an appointment with you. I had other things going on. I had a lot of things going on. I had planned, because these are my weeks home, right? To get things done so that I can stay fully present and have fun with my son. And I'm like, I was laying there and, beating myself up and being like, God, Amy, come on, like you don't want to let Michael down. You don't want to let these other people down. And, so I know, because you're beautiful. But anyway, so I am telling myself this, and I'm starting to go down this downward spiral. And I'm like, Amy, did you not learn anything last week? And so then I'm like,
that's all of us.
Right. So I pull myself right out of that. And I'm like, Amy, forgive yourself for going down that downward spiral. You are processing what you learned last week. You went all in. You said you wanted this. You're going through it. Now let's focus on what is true. I love my life. I love my wife. I love my son. I have a beautiful home. I have 3 amazing dogs. We all have our health, my family. I started going globally, like everything that's going right in my life. And then I was like, everything's going to be fine. Like, it's all going to be fine.
You regain your sense of purpose again.
Yes, which is resilience, right? When you can catch yourself doing those downward spirals, resilience, Claire. When you can catch yourself going in those downward spiral, that's when you can really notice your growth. Like she was saying, like, I know so many people who I used to work with who would say, prior to working with you, like one little thing would happen and I would be down for 3 weeks, whether it be in their mind or in their body, like physically laid out or like in a bad mood for the next 3 weeks. But now I catch myself because they've removed the traumas. They've learned to retrain their brain. They've learned to retrain their body. They've cultivated a resilience and a presence to their life, and they can become who they really want to become because they're not being hijacked by the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system.
And it's work relationships that sometimes, if you're at a big company, it could be a trigger that way. It could be the traffic. It could be you watch the news, but it could be also family members or distant family members that you
think about the common thing that we talk about, flipping somebody off when you're driving. They cut you off, and then you get so angry, and it's like, who said that lane is only yours and only at that time? Why can't that person, I learned to do this early on. It's like, I don't know what's going on in that person's head, and I'm not going to pretend to know what's going on in that person's head. So if they think that they need to get to where they're going faster than I need to get where I'm going, I'm going to allow that.
Yeah.
This is the make no assumption. from the 4 agreements. It's like, I'm not going to assume that they're trying to make my day worse and trying to be like, I'm faster than you and you suck or whatever. I don't even know what people put through their mind, like that they're not important and the other person is important. I don't know what story people are telling themselves, but that's important. Figure out what story you're telling yourself and heal that, because you don't know for sure. That person could be taking somebody to the emergency room, and you can give them the benefit of the doubt and just be like, they could be doing that, so I'm not going to take it personally.
If they
They
follow
could,
you into the parking lot, though, don't stop. Go straight to the police station. Let them follow you there. Okay.
right? They could have to go to the bathroom. You don't
Yeah.
know. They could be, if they're late one more time, they lose their job and they have like 6 kids to feed. You don't know what the story is. So instead of assuming that you know the story and that they're trying to make your day miserable, just move on. Because
Yeah.
here's the next thing that I want to say. We only have a certain amount of energy per day. Like I said, my readiness tells me what can I handle during this day. In fact, it's crazy. Mine is all screwed up because of the Joe Dispenza. Like, it thinks I'm really ready for the day, which maybe I am. I'm based on how long I'm going being sick. But you only have so much energy to spend during the day. Do you want to spend it on worrying about why that guy cut you off and thinking all these horrible things? It's going to drain your energy. Or do you want to use your energy to create the life that you want? Do you want to show up and be present and connect with people and feel the love in your heart and like heal your body and come home from work and be like, let's go shoot some baskets because I still have energy, because I didn't lose it all on losing my keys, and I didn't lose it all on the lady that didn't make my coffee the right way, or I didn't lose it on the fact that the project failed or whatever. I'm resilient, and I say, you know what, screw that. It's what's really important is me coming home and spending time with my family. That's what's important. I go to work for them. I make my life wonderful for them. How can I be more present with them?
So making space in the moment before you commit to reacting, writing that email that fires back at somebody in a way that's spending your energy, that's going to ruin the rest of your day. How do you, I mean, the way I do it is, do I really want to take the time to go down that road when I could go eat watermelon on the back porch, or walk my dogs, or go for a run, or just find a new activity, or get back to networking on the business front? I mean, which way do you want to spend your energy? The thing I've learned in 12 years, a few thousand folks, is, how you spend your energy is how you spend your energy. And where you put your focus is where you put your focus. Safest things I know. No one can take aim at that. You get a choice how you're going to spend your poker chips. You got stacks of poker chips at the casino. You can do it in a losing way. The house is going to take all your chips, or you can start building bigger stacks.
Right. And a lot of people don't realize that unhealed trauma is like having a hole in a leaky bucket. Every time you try to fill that bucket, a little bit's going to leak out, and there could be a lot of different holes in there. So every time that you are healing yourself, releasing your trauma, you're plugging those holes so that you have more in the bucket, per day, so that you can handle more.
And that's what you do. Again, you do a lot of listening, a lot of feeling, a lot of sensing, eyes closed, with the whole where they have. Oh, no, I meant like you do that eyes closed for folks. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Here's Joy.
I close my eyes because I'm shutting out a lot of the stimulus that comes into my eyes, so I can expand my focus and my energy to the quantum and see what needs to come in.
But that's where you're identifying on the person, kind of where the blockages are, to let the body, again, I'm going to use your language, let the body can heal, period, but you got to help them out of their own way.
Right. Because hold on, what I'm doing is I'm basically plugging the hole, or I'm pulling out the thing that's causing the disconnect in the communication.
Yeah.
That's all that I'm helping them to do. And then their body heals themselves.
They've got some hoses sometimes even up and over the bucket. What's that, siphoning? So that it's a natural suction, and the water.
So you got to be careful. Those are people.
Yeah, and you pull those hoses away, even you help them. Yeah, actually, that would be the the Judith Orloff, the
vampire
energy vampirism, or whatever that's called. Yeah. There's certain people you do want to be careful of your surroundings in large groups. If you're an empath, you got to learn your boundaries, your barriers, how to keep yourself intact. Comedy humor does it. But now, Joy, let's have her just give us either a tip or reminder. I mean, you've given us tons today.
That's very interesting that she said. now we're going to go real quantum. So she was just saying your cup is always full. It's an illusion that it's not full, which is going to levels that I don't know that I'd be prepared to even talk further about, other than yeah, like this is the way I can explain it. If you are, let's say, a spark from God, right? And God is all knowing, all everywhere, omnipresent, all that, and you are that, how can you be a bucket? Like, if you want to be a bucket, you can be a bucket. You can, if you want to be full, you can be full. You can be anything, right? Because you're part of that. So remembering how to connect to that is really the truth. So everything else is an illusion, which, by the way, like, you can go and listen to Mark Gober's podcast. He talks a lot about this, where
what was the name again for people? Can you spell the last name so they've got it clearly?
Mark Gober. And he has Where Is My Mind? And he has gone through like CIA documents, like the documents that have been declassified. And they talk about how we live in a holographic universe, and that we're all connected to the quantum, and that how we see the world is just the slowing down of matter and all these other things. Anyway,
yeah.
So was that who was that? Joy was
that
just
was
saying
Joy.
that,
Yep.
it is all illusion. Like, we're here as energy, and we're just slowed down matter. Anyway, it gets
I feel like a lot of people are saying that in a way, though, that it can be mistaken by folks who hear this as you don't have to do the work, and the work is nothing. Don't try so much. Recognize the difference between the flows, the force. Star Wars movies
when
are
you're coming from your heart, it's not work. You're doing
no, it's not work.
Interested. Yeah.
If there's no effort, always try Archangel Gabriel, and then there's no try Yoda, and they're both correct, because it's not about the words. It's just be.
Here's something I do want to say before, which has to do with this. So Joe actually just said this, and he said, if you look at something as a problem, it drains your energy. If you look at something as a challenge, it causes you to draw energy to you so you can overcome the challenge. And when I am, for instance, doing the ice baths, I look at it as a challenge. I don't look at it as a problem. I look at it as a challenge. How long can I go? How good is this going to make me feel? Can I really do it? It's at this particular temperature. How long can I make it? Because my ice bath isn't always at the same temperature. I don't have one of those automatic ones yet. And so it's a challenge, and it causes me to play and be curious.
So the opening is, there's my problem is, my situation is, my life story is, versus my opportunity for growth is right now.
Yeah.
And by filling in the rest of that sentence for any situation, you're switching to the PVNS.
Parasympathetic.
VS.
Yeah, because what and this is why I have a question mark on my desk, because there you can see it's a question mark. Because when you are curious, you're in the parasympathetic nervous system. It causes you to act like a child and play with the information, rather than judging, is where you cut off the stream of information, because you're like, I understand what this is. It's over here, and I'm over here, or whatever. You start to make these categories, which limits your understanding of it. So if you stay open and you play, like, and you ask questions and you're curious, you can then access more and more information.
There's an old India expression: a mind that is fast is sick. A mind that is slow is sound. A mind that is still is divine. And then there's the whole thing, when we pick up on people, you can see where people are at, or you can sense it. I like to do the glass thing. I like to joke that everyone's not just full, they're overflowing with a rainbow monsoon storm of beautiful light coming down extra. I go way over the top on this. But then, some people with their actions and their words, they reduce their glass to, half or less. And so you don't put your focus that way. Stick to the highest vibe, what you're worth. So I'm going to say a couple more quotes. Everything around you.
Hold on. I want to piggyback on that.
Yeah.
So a couple of things just came to me to further what Joy was saying about the that you are already full. So when I was learning Reiki, one of the things they tell us is to say, or to remember the person as being perfect, perfectly restored, as to their perfect blueprint. And we know from science that an egg, for instance, like from a salamander, has the shape of a salamander energetically already in there. They can like x-ray it or whatever and see the energy of it, and then the matter grows into the energy.
Hmm.
So you are already full, because at any given time you can be restored to your full blueprint of what you came in with. So like these are the spontaneous healings that you hear about, like where they had a disease or whatever, and then there's a remission, a complete remission, where they weren't expected to have that. They've been restored to that original blueprint. And this is something that Dr. Joe Dispenza is studying. And I mean, there was just so many fascinating things that if you start looking at the science, and then you know what you know about meditation and healing and energy, and you start to put the two together, you realize that they're all the same. It's all energy. And that's what she was saying, is that, you know, you are a full cup of energy, and anything that has been disrupted is just on a matter.
And the only thing holding any of us back are a few words, some experiences, some thinking, that concrete thinking that cements it all in as a block. And I'm going to do a deleted scene. And I always mention this movie, Peaceful Warrior, the movie, but the book is Way the Peaceful Warrior. Go do Dan Millman anytime you want. People are afraid. This is the gas station attendant who's like a Mr. Miyagi figure, a Zen master, coaching young Dan. I'll say an angel personally, but people are afraid of what's inside, because you got to go there to be open, to be vulnerable, to transact in life in an open, loving way, to be more love, to show more love, to allow for more love, for you to be who you are, for you to bring in all the soulmate, the amazing stuff, the travel, the fun, for you to just let go and enjoy life more. People are afraid of what's inside, and that's the only place they're ever going to find what they need. Mm-hmm. And the guy's name was Socrates. They never found out his real name. In the movie Peaceful Warrior, deleted scene, I like that one a lot. I'll mention, I'm looking for an old India quote that talks about non-duality. It's I can't even think of the guy's name, but this is an old famous quote. I wrote it in my diary like in 93 in New York City, with no comprehension of what non-duality meant for another 25 years. I was sitting in an Acura station repair place, car garage place in Austin, Texas, reading Thich Nhat Hanh's Pieces Every Step book. And his only non-sentence in the whole book is blah, 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 non-duality, period, not two. I waited 25 years to have, non-duality is just be in your heart. Duality is there's a difference between thinking. When you're up here, you're detached from the constant of Bambi being licked by the mama out back, to you hitting that golf stroke flawlessly, to you noticing a bird, to you smoking the cigar on the back patio. Yes, I said that. Having watermelon, just stretching, yoga, EFT, anything. You do it 1,000 times a day, but you give yourself no credit for it, and you're detached. It's called thinking, it's ego, it's psyche, it's this, it's reacting, judging, fear, stress, worry, fight or flight, as Amy Stark says. So give us the pep talk, and here's joy.
Duality has to do with the separation from source. So once we become separate, we feel that it's not true, right? And it starts.
We're in control.
Right. Because we are all one. And when you've done as much work as I've done, and you're as sensitive as I am, like pulling out weeds, it bothers me. Like I feel
weeds are flowers too. Winnie the Pooh.
It's true. Like I came home from the Joe Dispenza retreat, and like I'm so full of love and everything, and I'm like washing my hands, and there's like a mosquito on the mirror, and I was like, oh no. And because I hate mosquitoes, because I swell up from them, and but then I'm like, no. And I looked at it and I smiled, and I like felt so connected to it, and I'm like, it's all right, you can hang here. And then I just left, like, because for 1 second I got in my mind of like, oh, that means that I'm going to get stung, and that means it's going to itch for a week, and like, it could carry Lyme disease or other, whatever. And I started getting the thinking brain, and then I'm like, no, I don't need to fear this thing. It's so tiny.
Angels, though, have once in a while said, bye-bye spider, by the way, because it's not black and white all the way. If you're in your house and, I try to put insects outside, I get it. And I've seen 7 years in Tibet, you know, they stopped construction because of the earthworms. They got to move every earthworm out of the way. It's a Buddhist Tibetan tradition. No, it's sacred. Those are sacred insects or objects or animals or whatever I'm trying to say, living organisms. But here's Mac.
Wow.
So one time she said, it's not absolute. Bye-bye spider, meaning smack. So I'm just trying to say it becomes another egoic thinking system if you go too far in any one direction. I'm only going to eat watermelon.
So here's
on
the
Tuesday.
difference. So I do have sovereignty over my body and say, like, you could make me not my highest and best good if you sting me, because then it'll distract me.
Yeah.
But I was able to actually even move further than that and just be like, I trust that you won't hurt me. And I love you. Like,
so that's the Oreo cookie. I'm trying to be humorous now. Sorry. The MTV, there was some show with those ridiculous guys pushing the envelope. There was the
oh yes, yeah.
The inflatable dolphin they're riding on behind, being towed behind a boat with a pod of orcas that could eat them, or putting the cookie on the rattlesnake head. And so I'm not talking that. We're talking true consciousness meld in the
right. Obviously that, I mean, it's just a little prick on my, you know, hand or whatever. But I was able to just say, I love you and you can stay there and we can coexist and be okay. Like, could I do that if it was a rattlesnake in my house? No.
No. But you have 3 dogs and do you hear your dogs? Because I mean, you can hear.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So 3rd graders, 2nd graders, 4th graders, do you have a PhD out of one of them that they're super sophisticated? They're like basically pulling a pipe out and you're like, what the heck? That person was 18th century England human doing a stint in a dog now. What? Do you mean, like, I always say dogs are 3rd graders.
Oh yeah. No,
does one of them come back as a human though?
Yeah, my dog Maggie is like an ascended master.
That's what I'm saying. Is some of them like fool you, and you're like, "What the heck is going on with this dog?"
I think all dogs actually. That to say that they're 3rd or 4th graders is probably so wrong. I think that they are all like these enlightened beings. Honestly, the amount of love, pure love that, I mean, if the dog has not been traumatized, then it just genuinely gives love. If it has been traumatized, then there's some things, but even still, they usually tend to give love to the one person that they feel like they can trust. That is where everybody should be, like, trying to go.
Oh, we wish we could be Bambi, the mama of the dogs.
Yeah, and to be so in the present moment, like when they see you, they're like, "Oh my God, you're back again!" Like, you know,
pure
like,
consciousness.
Yeah, they're like wondering. I mean, sometimes they you know, miss us and things like that. But they actually have done studies where dogs are able to predict when their owners are coming back home.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And they did it all different times of the day. So the dog didn't know like the schedule or whatever. They did it they had them go home in the different cars. They had different paths. They knew as soon as
that's how twins know to call the other twin. Don't you have a sister?
I do. I have a twin.
Twin. Thank you. That's why I was like, So there's the whole thing. We'll get to that in a sec. Here's Mac. Have her weigh in on why love is love, period. Doesn't matter if it's dogs, Bambi. And don't call her Mackenzie. She's everything plants, animals, and Angel, who's a rock star. She's a surf guide. If you want to close your eyes and go surfing with angels in Bora Bora, Hawaii, they make the waves nice, no sharks.
She's just saying love is who you are. Like, you're like, and I felt the particles of my beingness. You know, me, you, everybody, we're all made up of love.
Unless it's the Jets versus the Broncos. Not happening then. I'm kidding. I'm not a Jets.
Oh my gosh, Aiden and my dad are going to that game. It's at like October 8th or something like that.
First, I didn't even know the Jets and Broncos could play each other. Second,
I know, me either.
And randomly picked that out of the ether. Wow. So, okay, ask Dale, who coached a famous Olympic gymnast, who's really down to earth, but if it's Green Lantern, he's from really far out. You've seen him in human form a lot. Ask him, was that just a random accident I said that, or was that part of the humor?
That divinely guided.
Yeah. So
what were we talking about before that?
It is love, animals, but go ahead and see his face a little and get another topic thread to take further.
The whispers. So one of the reasons why I talk about the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic is because if you can imagine that the sympathetic nervous system is just very loud, you need to quiet that down so you can hear the whispers. And which is why I close my eyes, because like dulling down all the senses really helps you to expand and hear the rest using, the senses that you prefer. Do I see? Yes, I still see energy and things like that, but that's one of the least ways which I see. I more hear and feel and know, than see and smell. I even smell too.
That's beautiful. Hey, I wanted to mention that this tiger is the tiger from India with the Divine Mother, the tiger who hangs out with the Divine Mother. Pure action, like Geronimo, not going to bite you. Here to help anyone for getting stuff done, protection, whichever way you want to view it. But you can use that photo. Sorry, it's not that bright right now, but that's a beautiful tiger. That's an English artist in, I think it's Sophie. Oh, I forgot her name.
That's not a photograph?
No, it's a drawing by an
Oh, wow.
amazing wildlife artist. I paid for that. It's a limited signed thing. But that tiger is action. You can hear the tiger. So for anybody watching in the future, you can smell that sunflower. Let's get Mac back for 1 second. Here's Mac. Ask and Joy. Ask for sunflower smells first. Let's just go beyond all time and space. What did Einstein say about time and space? Who knows, but you can talk to Einstein and have him remind you. Smell those sunflowers. If you got a stuffed up nose, let's do it. You might have to ask Joy 20 times. If you're a real stick in the mud, 100 times. But you have no limits. Have her bust through your stuffed up nose. We get something called cedar fever in Texas. One guy 1 year asked 20 times and got it cleared out, which shouldn't be possible. And then the next year it happened again around the same time. He had talked to her tons, started asking, but his eyes are watery. He's hitting hard. And he went home because he was like, I can't do it. He's like, I'm giving up. I'm going to bed. Get the sunflower smell. Don't get the cedar fever.
I just did. My whole sinuses opened up. That was great.
Oh, good. Now ask the tiger how we can stay on our path more daily. How can we be action without thought? I'm borrowing from Abe, the Abraham of old, the angel.
So that's such a great way to segue into this. Like, think about that tiger, the presence and the knowingness of who he is or she, and on their path, like where they're going. That tiger is not concerned about anything outside of it until it's time to eat, right?
Yeah.
But it just walks with authority and knowingness that this is where it's going, and just like pure presence. And the energy is beautiful, right? Like when you watch a tiger walking, like there's no hesitation. Should I go walk a little bit this way?
If you want to put your hand to the screen, I know it's not held up close, but you can feel that energy. I'm leaning.
I feel it. Yeah,
you already feel it. Okay, good. But
Oh,
anyone else out there, put your hand out. You can feel it here. If you're resisting, feel it on your toes.
But that's who we want to become in this life. Like that presence, that authority, that knowingness of which way we're going. He's not, or she's not, checking and being like, should we go over here? No, it's like, no, I know.
Bam.
This is
whack-a-mole.
And just walking with grace and beauty and like precision until that needs to go and get, whatever. And then it relaxes because it knows it's super powerful. Nobody's going to mess with it. Right. Like, who comes and messes with a tiger? I don't know. Cheetah? I don't know. Like basically nothing. And I'm sure that there's probably one ear that's attuned to anybody that would try to mess with them. But the rest of them is relaxed, right? That knowingness that they are taken care of, that they will be taken care of.
If you want to close your eyes, and I'm assuming the open part of the room is to your right, whichever part is the open part of the room, you can close your eyes, put your hand out like your dog is not 1 foot tall, but it's a tiger height, 3 feet up. Put your hand out and let that tiger walk underneath your hand and feel the fur, whichever part is your open room. Hold on. You can get a lick if you want on the side of your cheek, but put your hand out and feel the fur of the tiger walk by. Anyone want to close their eyes? Let the tiger walk by and you'll be like, oh my God, I'm tuning out right now. Come back a week later to the podcast, pick back up where we left off.
Feels good.
Yeah. And you can ask for that. Now, here's another concept. You're a bubble of energy. You're whatever you want to call it. Field of energy. Do, Aaron McTaggart or whatever, but Lynn McTaggart. You're a field. You're a ball of light. ask for that tiger to come into your ball light, especially if you've got to go for a harder run or a yoga workout that you're a little worried about the yoga workout. Do you have the fortitude to make it through without, flailing around? If you need a little help, you got a big party you're cooking for. You're going for a walk, but you're like not sure about that one path. Ask Geronimo, ask an angel, ask your relatives, ask for some extra oomph in your ball of light, who you are. Just allow, ask, and receive. That's my message for today.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, last thoughts here. Take us somewhere in here. You want a little help on this because I know we've gone a long ways here. We always do. Here's Geronimo, Joy, and Dale, 2 angels and an amazing unconditional love spirit guide who's pure action.
You are what you think. So make sure you are clear about what you think about.
I remember in Peaceful Warrior.
Think about that though. Think about that. If you're having negative thoughts, and triggering thoughts, you become the energy, right? You become that sympathetic nervous system. So if you're thinking in love and gratitude, you become that. So what did they say? Your thoughts become what you think. I don't even remember.
And you're also,
that's what
you're not your thoughts in one sense. So don't get married to it in one sense. Absolutely. If you keep focusing in the same way. Dan Millman's book again, or the movie, talks about you're not your thoughts. So you're off the hook because you're going to want to flip it and be like, oh my God, I just thought about that 747 crashing and I'm a bad person. And so you're also
no, what I'm talking about is the thoughts creating the chemistry in your body.
Like, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy.
Right. Yeah. The persistent thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. Now
you got to get clear about what you want to be thinking so that you can create the life that you want.
So it's awareness. Awareness is that invisible ingredient that allows you to turn the volume up, turn the volume down, to be more aware of how you're flowing your energy and in what direction. And that makes all the difference in the world. I'm going to mention a scene. Dan is this gym student it's Berkeley in real life in the late 60s, but he's helping out at a gas station. Doesn't know why he's talking to this guy. He's got a coach, but this guy seems to know something he doesn't. In fact, he shows up. He's got a recurring nightmare, boots in his nightmare, and he's got some tragedy going on, but he shows up, he leaves his dorm room to go for a midnight jog, clear his head, and he ends up at a gas station. He buys chips and soda. He's the type of kid who starts eating and opens it up. He hasn't paid for it yet. Now, the guy who runs the service station comes out of a supply closet and he notices that those are the boots from his recurring repetitive nightmare. And he points out to the guy wearing the boots, the gas station attendant, hey, your boots don't match. That's the opening for the gas station attendant, Mr. Miyagi, angel-like figure. He goes, yeah, one's just a little newer than the other. Now, I've had to watch that movie 50 times to figure out that he's not talking about the boots. He's talking about the soles or these 2 guys in the station. One's just a little newer than the other. Dan's got to figure everything out and how it really works in life. And so later he comes back. When he exits the station, he turns around. The guy's standing on the roof. He went from sitting in a chair to standing on the roof. There's no ladder. This is a world-class gymnast who goes on to the Olympics, who wins the NCAAs, who is unbelievable in the rings and some other stuff, who cannot figure out how an old man just ended up on the roof in a split second. And so he comes back to challenge him and yell at him like the next day. And that begins the whole Karate Kid wipe on, wipe off relationship. Flash forward to a scene by the car, getting some gas filled in the tank. And then there's the wiper scene, wiping the windshield as a courtesy. And Dan's quip is, as a snappy 20-year-old or something, is like, hey, I know more than you think, to the old man. And he says, and you think more than you know. And that's all of us, is we're thinking all the time. Half the time when we think we're not thinking, we're even thinking more. So don't try in one sense, always try. Both are valid. Don't even worry about it. Ditch everything we've said. Take a breath, smile, do a cha-cha-cha-cha. Anything, this is the Buddhist Zen thing. In an instant, shout for no reason at all. This is the whole one monk runs into another monk and they have like a Zen battle. They say some crazy non sequitur saying, oh, pointy bird on the left wing of a tree. And then the other person says something that shows they're more out of it up here and more in the heart here. It's a Zen battle to show that you're truly in your heart. Never understood those things. What a student will challenge the master. What is the white ox standing in the field? And then the master hits him on the head and says, you dumb ox. The student's trying to show he's learned something, he's appreciated something, he's truly in his heart. But by saying I've changed, oh, you don't understand. I haven't seen you in your I've changed. You've already lost. You're not in your heart. You're using words. Like there's something to this that is intangible. That's why I love Peaceful Warrior. It's in throughout the whole movie. You can watch it and you'll find new material. The book is even better. But at one point in the book, he hands out a business card to the kid at the college, and he's looking at the writing later and it starts glowing. Only call me in emergencies. He had just been talking about, well, maybe I'll call the old man now and see what he's up to. And then it starts glowing, only call in emergencies. So there's something bigger here in the universe and life that's available to us all the time. It doesn't have to be the Joe Dispenza retreat. It can be Amy Stark, though, helping you out. What I'm saying is, put it to the universe. If you're a little bit of skeptic, or you're like, well, I'm not sure, or my situation is you don't understand my life story. And I was going to get to this earlier. Write your life story down. If you're done 3 days later, it's going to be funny, because you're going to have to go rewrite that life story, rewrite it again, see if you can make it shorter. When can you get it down to 3 paragraphs? When can you get it down to 1 sentence? When can you get it down to 3 words? Good luck with this. Good luck with it. I love all. I don't know how to go down to a few sentences. You could write all, love, but most of us are going to get stuck at the 6, 7 paragraph, 1 page thing, because we're like, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me on this. I'm not worthy. I want to have this happen. It hasn't happened yet. So there's a lot more opportunity facing us than we realize. Don't put it on your back. Put it on the shoulders of everybody in the universe. Put it on Amy Stark's shoulders. Ping her. How are they going to contact you first for the initial consultation? Pay for a quick, what's your first intro into the swimming Olympic pool with our Olympic instructor here? How do they reach out to you? And what's the recommended safe, surefire way to get acclimated with you?
I highly recommend people listen to the Stark Transformation Show to understand what I'm all about. I have a course that's called You Are Energy. And so I teach the foundation of like how we are energetic beings, what that means, like how we can connect with the quantum field and what our chakras mean, how to do EFT, how to clear our energy. These are all very simple tools that I've used throughout my healing journey to help me to heal and understand the science behind healing. But you can contact me on my website, but I don't work a lot with one-on-one with people now. My job is to teach many at one time, because as much as we'd like to say that we're unique in our stories, right? Because we could write 6 pages about ourselves. We all are looking for the very similar things. We're looking to become a better person, hopefully. We're looking to connect with others. We're looking to connect with ourselves. We're looking to connect to our higher selves. We're looking to connect to the quantum, to feel better, happier, lighter, healthier. Those are the themes that people are wanting. And it's easy for me to speak to those things and cause or ignite or be a catalyst for their transformation. And I've been instructed by Spirit over and over and over again to be very selective about who I work with and how I work with them, so that, I can then help the masses.
Beautiful.
So, but if you're interested, there's a form on my website. You can send it.
Yeah. Stark Transformation Show. Is there one other book, though, that's a must read, might be shorter? Is it a Don Miguel book? Is whose book?
Mastery of Love. He also wrote Mastery of Love, and that is really, really beautiful. Yeah. I mean, the main takeaway from that book is about how we spit the poison.
Right there.
When we are unhealed, we are basically spitting poison at others, because we want to release the poison from us, right? We know that it's poison. We can feel it when we've been triggered. So then we wind up spitting that poison or triggering somebody else. So what we want to do is we want to learn to take the antidote, which is love, and to heal that, so that we aren't walking around spitting our poison at other people. To bring this more conceptually down to something that's very easy. I mean, I have a 3rd grader who I've been teaching this for several years, because sometimes he gets bullied. And I always tell him, like, the people who are bullying you have been bullied themselves. Like, somebody in their life is bullying them. So they think that it's okay to do this to other people, because it's actually somebody that they trust and love, probably, that's bullying them, or that they wouldn't expect them to be wanting something bad for them. So if this person's being bullied, just remember to have compassion in your heart that they are being bullied and that you would rather not be bullied at home like that, like, or be bullied by a close person. So, try to have that separation, realize that's about them, not about you. And then just try to keep your distance.
Yeah. Be more.
They're spitting the poison at my son, and my son would say they were spitting the poison at me.
Wow.
And I would say, you don't want to spit that poison back out. So let's try to heal that within yourself. Like, what they said to you, does it really matter? Is it really true? We'd work through those things, because I don't want him having an altered sense of self because of some kid that was just being bullied and decided to take it out on him.
Yeah, that's beautiful to hear this. Okay, last thing from Joy and Charlotte about love, or just the flow, or life.
That's funny. She told me to go and have a cup of tea with lemon in it, which she's probably right.
Yeah, I'm doing a fruit
that.
smoothie after this. I'm getting back into the pool, I heard. It's been super hot in Texas. They've got me going into a pool daily, running galore.
What is the temperature of that pool?
It's pretty warm. Well, it's
Okay.
cooler in the 5-foot section, so I go cool, but I'm supposed to look for the light. My guardian angel, I don't know if I brought Min up, maybe I did earlier. I'm supposed to connect with her even more. She's been not super quiet during my time, but always is she's professor, soft-spoken, stands in the back, but it's my time to connect with her more. And so I'm supposed to invite her into my ball of energy. Remember, the way I'm going to describe angels and guides, and well, if love's a constant all the time, how am I so withdrawn from it? How am I so separated from it? How can I have all these situations, problems, finances, job stress, no job, lack, this lack, that lack? There's no interference. You're getting the best of everything in every moment. Good luck with that when you're at a high school getting bullied, or a middle school. Good luck with believing that when you just lost your job. But everything for a reason. And we're back to Ted Lasso for the 4th time. I've mentioned this on a 4th episode of the last 7. But season 3, show number 5 or 6, she falls into Amsterdam, the canal. The owner of the soccer team, Ted Lasso, fished out by the houseboat guy, who's a Royal Dutch Airlines airplane pilot. We learn in the season finale. He says to her, life events don't happen to you. They happen for you. The bullying happens for you. You've got room for growth, expansion on everything. We never said that way today until now. Growth and expansion is the name of the game. You can handle more love. People can handle more of your love. Where are we falling flat or not getting it? All the time, everywhere, every one of us. If it was handing out speeding tickets with the Indianapolis 500, trying to hand out tickets to everybody, whoa, cats and dogs and chaos here, because we can all do more love, allow more love, show love always, show more love always. Good luck with that. But to that point,
Can I wait? Hold on. I just want to say why you want to turn, when you say things are happening to me, you've put a place of judgment, and you're being attacked, right? So you're in your sympathetic. When you say something is happening for you, it turns on your creativity, which turns on your parasympathetic nervous system, which is where you're able to see how this is actually happening for you. And then your brain will find it. Your brain will say, well, you hated that job and you've always wanted to go here. It's time for us to do that. Just do it. Now you don't even have the job. You have no excuses.
Yeah, IBM for 30 years, you get laid off. And does anyone call up their cousin or their friend or tell their neighbor this is the greatest thing that ever happened to me? No.
Not right away.
Decade. Yeah, you spend the next decade, 2 days, 10 days saying they got me. They finally got me, and I'm so upset. They didn't give me any notice, or no one says, oh my God, it's my chance to finally go on a vacation. I didn't take one for 7 years. Right. I can finally start my own company and make my employees happy, make my customers happy, and go do bigger and better things. So that's the name of Earth School. The name of the game here at Earth School is to get living, get loving, get out of this. Thinking is, to me, thinking in words is just more generally, and I don't want to be harsh on it. We're going to do it all the time. It's just more structure. And when you look at Twitter, you look at anything, disclosure, UAPs, UFO stuff, you don't hear, these are people looking for consciousness, talking about life, the universe. You can meet light beings. They're unconditional love. I'm going to do this for 2 seconds. There's all different types of organisms, beings out there. Many are way, way out of our league for understanding anything. When we're talking unconditional love figures, okay, they love you. They can see your entire life path. They can see how to help you, but they do not want to interfere, because to interfere is to take away your opportunity for growth and learning. Because if you don't learn it, you can't force somebody to be on a bike and pedal. They have to learn the wobbling and how to keep their balance. And that's the whole point of every act of life. Loving another, getting married, doing this, having kids, doing this. You go through the motions and you learn. And so again, no interference. So if you're going to learn one thing from today, is put yourself out there to the universe and be like, hey guys, I know you're there. Even if I can't feel you, smell you, taste you, hear you, you can. Ask for their help and be like, sock it to me. Ask for dream time help.
I wouldn't say sock it to me.
Yeah, no, okay. Hey,
Gently tell me.
I'll take as much
Whisper.
help. Yeah, I'll take as much gentle,
A
loving
nudge.
help. Yeah, a nudge. I'll take as much gentle, loving
Right.
help as you're going to give me. And it may be dream time classes. We're often doing that. You won't remember it, but ask for more classes. Ask for more experiences under your belt so you can broaden out and be that loving person you were as a kid. You were last week. You never lost or skipped a beat, lost a step. You've got it all. And it's just now Amy Stark's going to talk about this. You just forgot.
Now I'm going to talk about work.
You've got it all here. You just forgot. And Joe Dispenza and Amy Stark will help you reignite.
You just got to reconnect with who you really are. You know, we, like I said in the very beginning, we are generally, people who are listening to this are very sensitive. And so we've learned to be attuned to what others want, but not what we want. And it's about tuning that out and tuning in here. And the more that we tune in, then we realize we can give, and we have the energy to help, but we don't have to help everyone. Like, remember when I was telling you about that person who called me and they were like, I want to talk, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, the first instinct was, oh, okay, I will talk, even though I don't really want to. And then I was like, whoa, I don't have to do that. Nobody is making me do that. What is real? You know, like, what is more important? Amy being of her highest and best good to serve those who deserve to hear what I have to say, deserve to be in my energy and feel the love that I have for them, and want to help them on their journey, rather than those who are looking to derail me or to take advantage of me or cause me to spiral out, you know, and forget who I really am.
Yeah, once in a while, there are people out there that no matter what the past connections are or whatever the interaction is, sometimes it just doesn't jibe. You get sent into a spiral, and that's okay. Just if you're recognizing it, don't do it again. It's like touching a hot wire.
Right. And also sometimes there are ways of measuring your progress, right? So I was able to say, whoa, look at that, Amy. You understand your progress. You understand who you are. You haven't forgotten. And you were able to catch yourself in that quick moment and get back on the path. Like that's growth. You know, and we do need people to come in to show us our growth, like, or have Joy come in and say, Amy, remember your growth in the last 6 months. It's been amazing. Like, you've worked so hard to get where you're at. Don't forget that. Because I am in the present moment and I'm just taking each moment, like, you know, second by second or minute by minute. And then she's like, no, just a second. Let's review the last 6 months and how hard you worked. Great. That's how you got here.
Let's review the last 6 months or the last 6 years. Let's get some compliments for Amy Stark, Mother Teresa. But you got to share, get 2 compliments. You have to, or 3 if you want.
Oh my gosh, really?
But you share one out loud for sure. So get 3.
Okay.
This way you get to select which one you're going to share out loud. If you don't mind, for the audience, show them how to leave your eyes on here. For 1 second, leave your eyes on her, then close your eyes. Mother Teresa, great sense of humor. She'll tell you laughter is love. That's one of her best lines. And if you're judging people, you have no time to love them. I love those 2 quotes from her.
Right. Because you're actually in the sympathetic, not the parasympathetic.
And that is her t-shirt line coming out soon. I do the abbreviations.
Yeah.
I'd love to, but
I'm listening. Hold on. Let me listen now. Again, she already gave me 1 with my eyes open, but I want to do 2 with my eyes closed.
I'd love to, but my PSNS says I can't in the morning. And for the audience at home, put your hand out, feel the photo, feel the energy.
I will share this one because it was applicable to me, but to everyone else as well. And she says, your true nature is in your heart. So anytime that you're not being of the love and the light, really, then you're not in your truest nature. And that's how you know where you've gone wrong. So just figure it out, like what caused you to get out of that.
And here's the shock of all time, which I'm going to now forget it. But of course, it's ego. Ego's wasted energy. It's fear, insecurity, it's stress, rejection. Ego is a false security blanket, to quote my guardian angel. It'll make you feel good, or it'll hold you in place long enough to get past whatever the initial thing is, but you're not living. Okay, compliment session number 2, Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel. Get at least 2 compliments and get something we can share from Archangel Gabriel. He once said, always try. Don't hold back is another way to say it. For people looking at the photo, there's rainbow light on the edge of this side, and there's purple light, violet light on the edge of the image. This is light energy form. I grabbed a camera, daytime, nighttime, used to hand the camera to folks. You can just see with your eyes open. Look up at the corner of your ceiling where it meets the wall. Breathe, relax, no tri-iota. If you need to stretch or rock your head around or do anything, dance a jig, sing a song.
Yep. So the message that Gabriel, is that?
Gabriel.
Had was that each thing that you do in life can either affirm how much you love yourself, or it can prove basically how you don't love yourself. And so to be mindful about the food that you're putting into your body as a way of loving yourself, or the practices that you're doing as loving yourself. Or if you find yourself doing something that isn't loving, just to be mindful of it and just recognize that that's what you're doing. Like, it's just an observer. Like, I talk about us as like the computer and the programmer. Like, we can observe the computer as like it's functioning and watch it do its thing, or we can get in there and change the programs and watch it change as then we watch the computer. We can become the observer of our thoughts, or we can become ourselves, and live. There's a word in psychology, I can't remember. And there's no judgment. Like, you really don't want to beat yourself up. We tend to do that, right? Like the other day I was beating myself up, like, when are you going to get well? Like, you're a healer. Come on, Amy. Like, what are you doing that you're not thinking of? And I was like, all I want to do is just keep clearing my energy. And I know that the reason why I was laid up for 3 days was because they wanted me to practice what I had learned, like, and to keep doing it and play with it and watch it and master it, and so that's why I was in bed, but I was judging it, right? Like, I should be on Michael's podcast. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And first of all, one of the things that somebody said on my podcast was, don't ever shit on yourself.
Yep.
And because you are where you are, and that's what it is, stop looking at the past here. That it causes resistance. It causes us to get stuck, and just embrace what's happening. So like, if we find ourselves and we're doing something unloving, like, I don't want to put any kind of judgments out there, but if we find maybe it's not of our highest and best good, that's okay. Like, we're still human. We're still figuring it out. We're trying to explore what it's like to be human. And if we're doing something loving for ourselves, like taking an ice bath and all the prep work that goes into that, or we find ourselves going to the Joe Dispenza and going all in, like, we need to honor those things as well. And probably more so take those into our heart and remember them, because we are choosing us. We are choosing love. We are choosing becoming our greatest version. And I told Aiden, my son, I said, thank you so much for allowing me to go and not, be like, I miss my mommy, like all that kind of stuff. Even though he did, and I missed him, like, he was able to separate and say, I know that this is important to you, and I know that you're doing this for you. And I said to him, I said, I'm doing it because I'll become a better mommy. And he's like, that's impossible, and I was like, you're so sweet. I love you so much. But it's true. Like, I will become a better mother because of it. And like, I already have caught myself at times, like, maybe I'm not as present, and then I'm like, oh, Amy, you want to be more present. Or, I said something to my partner and I apologized and I said that I'm sorry, I just was frustrated with my own body, and I took it out on you. But the more that you can have that vulnerability and just say, I am sorry, like I am not perfect and it's okay and I will keep doing better. That's why we're here. So Gabriel was just saying to what was he saying? Oh, to honor the things that you're doing for yourself.
Yep.
And then if you're not, then that's okay too.
I've got Heather, an angel, and Ginger the fairy coming to give you compliments in just 1 second. But I'll tell you, I had these phrases in 1993, 94. I was working on Wall Street in New York City, and I must have gotten whimsical, waxed poetic, something, because I wrote down these phrases in like a diary that I wasn't really keeping as a diary, but they stayed with me for 20, 25 years or more. Here's Siddha Katrappa, I'm slaughtering the name, out of India, who's a very famous, one of those 1,000 philosopher types, but out of India. And here's that quote in its entirety that I was talking about earlier. Whatever the yogin sees is his instruction, or master, whichever, same thing. Whatever the yogin sees is his instruction. And realization that all he sees is unborn. That is the most excellent guru. Innocence is the way to realize non-duality, for here the effects of virtue and vice are one.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's deep. But
it's true. The more closer we are to being a child, the more less judgmental we are, the more in love we are. For most children, obviously, we aren't all raised the same and have the same trauma.
It's that whole "is that so" expression from Zen Buddhism that drove me nuts for a decade, because you win the lottery, they hand you $10 million. You're like, is that so? And then your house burns down. It costs $10 million to rebuild. And you're like, is that so? Easy come, easy go. I mean, is this too shall pass. There's a million ways to say it, but part of us wants to fight, depending on how it's said. We have a reaction. And we're like, oh, that's not for me. I got to rephrase that. Or it takes 10 years to finally find the perspective that you can understand it. And it's the same for divorce. It's the same for an illness. You were pissed off for years you had the cancer, or you're on your 5th divorce. And then you look back and realize it was the best thing that ever happened to you, or losing that job. All of it has a purpose and a reason. It's bigger than your immediate thinking ego perspective is going to allow you to appreciate. But that's the beauty of this entire thing. How are you loving more? How can you love more? What is love? I mean, I've had one person in the last 16, 18 months who was like, I don't even know what love is. And I was like, oh boy. But I was like, okay, put this on. And, I did the best I could. But the bottom line is, look, it's a constant. It's life itself. Compassion for all is life. I'm going to give one more, much more fun. That was the deepest quote I could ever give for the rest of my life. Here's: nothing ever really goes away until it has taught us what we need to know.
Right. That is very true. And I use this as a analogy for people who are going through a dark night of the soul. Is like, first the universe will throw a pebble at you to get your attention, and then they will throw a rock to get your attention, and you're like, what the, you get a little bit more awareness, and then finally they just throw a boulder, and then you're knocked out and you're on your back, right? And then you look up and you're like, what happened, and what's going on in my life? How did I miss this? Blah, blah, blah. You start to finally figure out where everything had gone wrong. And you want to not get to the boulder because that usually is a life-threatening illness or something that's really horrible going on in your life, a divorce or losing your job or whatever. But the universe will give you these smaller little like wake-up calls, these whispers, which you need to sit down in meditation or go for a walk or, get into the parasympathetic nervous system in the ways that you can, chopping, onions, or, well, maybe not onions because that makes you cry, but you want to figure out what brings you joy and bliss and gets you into that quiet present moment. Surfing. One of the most powerful moments I ever had was when I got up on a surfboard. It only happened one time. I will never forget it. May as well have done 100 times because I was in that present moment. Everything just came very still and very alive and present all at the same time. And
paying attention, awareness, doesn't matter which way we say it, but only certain ways will resonate with certain people. Slowing down.
Right, slowing down. I forget what we're talking about now.
Okay, I got another one. When we look into our own hearts, and begin to discover what is confused. So that's kind of a Buddhist expression, and what is brilliant, what is bitter, and what is sweet. It isn't just ourselves we're discovering, it's the universe. Everything and everyone is awake.
We're really here to experience what it's like to be human. That's why we're here. So you can't be here without having disappointment and heartache and the things that make you uncomfortable, because you wouldn't, first of all, feel much. Like you need to have the bad things happen in order to feel the good, right? You need to have the breakup
Contrast.
to feel. Right. Yeah. That, like I remember hearing it in a song by Jason Mraz. Like he said it perfectly. Like you do need to have that contrast, right? Like whatever he said, there's a line. And without the good, you don't know the bad, or whatever he said. And that's true. And like we want life to be easy and stay the course and like not be hard or whatever, but we never change when that happens. And we also aren't experiencing what it is through our full senses and how to live and explore ourselves and like, challenge ourselves. It can't be that way. Like, what's the point?
It's easy.
Spirits know that it's not
rigidity.
easy.
It's easy to do rigidity. The brain wants to seize on, it's only one way. I'm only going to look at it this way, and that's it forevermore for decades. And we get locked up.
Right.
Okay. Accepting ourselves means this is like, I'm not kidding. I might as well be 10 at this point, even though I'm 23, 24. I look like I was 14. I'm working on Wall Street. I'm ready to dye my hair gray and wear glasses to get a little more. Everyone fired me who met me face to face, but I had a great phone voice. I sold stock ideas to portfolio managers. But again, they would meet me and never do business with me again because I look like when I was 14, I probably looked like I was 10. When I was 30, I looked like I was 20. I'm 55 going on 56 now. Yay. Okay, here's the next quote. So what the heck got into me? This is the very beginning of spirituality in Michael Ford's life, planted in a book that then I'm starting to appreciate only, 30 years later. Accepting ourselves means lightening up the ancient burden of self-importance. We take ourselves, our situations, and others way too seriously. Instead of practicing love, which is light touch, goes a lot further. When we feel embarrassed or awkward when pain presents itself, we run like crazy to try to become comfortable. Another quote.
Instead of sitting in it, that's where the lesson is.
And again, hallmark.
Being present with it.
Okay, now here's a good one. To relate with others compassionately is a challenge. Really communicating to the heart and being there for someone else means not shutting down on that person, which means, first of all, not shutting down on ourselves. These are deep. I had no business writing these down. My angels must have been like slapping me, injecting me with the truth serum thing and getting me a pen and piece of paper. What am I doing writing this stuff down? 93, when I'm barely... Yeah.
My first quote that I wrote down when I started my spiritual journey was, happiness is something you create. And it's true.
Okay. Now, Charlotte's helped me out many times in key moments in life before I even knew I was going to go down this path.
Jennifer Nettles song, by the way.
I love it. You can ask Charlotte, were they just dying of laughter when they got me to write all these quotes down, or what? It must have been like a tea party. Okay.
I do see them all around you.
Yeah. What we reject out there, we reject in ourselves. So when you say all those other things, there's no such thing really as right or wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you can ask angels to go rob the next bank. First of all, they're not going to answer. But there's no such thing as right or wrong, but there is proper understanding. There's a difference. And there's, again, a nuance there. People could fight over that for decades and be like, you're wrong.
You know how it's Wayne Dyer. That was the name that I forgot. Wayne Dyer said it perfectly. He said, when you judge someone else, you're actually judging yourself, or just proving who you really are. So one finger is pointing at the other person, but three are pointing back at you.
Yeah, and you're self-limiting.
And judgment begets judgment. So if you have a brain that starts to judge people, then you will find others judging you.
Yeah. Once you start blocking people on Twitter, you're never stopping again. It's like one potato chip or an M&M. You're going to finish the whole bowl or bag. You're done. Okay. I had to do that. If you keep it light, and it's not funny in another sense, I got accused of being children's book spirituality version of it all. Like a children's book author, because I'm too light about it. But the point of this is love, light itself. If you only went by visually, somebody took you on a universal trip and you could see light and the consciousness, the higher vibration, the feeling of angels singing to you or beyond, a chime that's angels singing. You can hear that right now. Ask. Go to another room, come back, pause this. Go to your back patio, go put your feet on the grass. Everyone's going to need to do that, the grass thing with your bare feet to ground again after this show. Okay. But the point is, love, light is so big, you will forget your troubles. You will forget why you had a problem with Joe or Sarah, or why you were beating yourself up. You become love again. You get refreshed. You haven't lost anything. Okay. Don't hang on to you. I guess that's what I was saying here. Don't hang on to your version of life too tightly.
It's true.
Well, yeah.
Well, because we should be ever evolving.
Yeah, we should. Good luck with that.
There are things that happen in my life that I almost don't even believe it's real. Like that was me and that I was in that situation, because I've healed so much from it and I've distanced myself so much from it. And I've actually, there's somebody who was in my past who was really mean to me for many, many years. And I found myself driving down the road and being like, I wonder how that person is. And, we had such great times. And then I'm like, what? I just had released everything from my nervous system and rewrote it so that I wasn't afraid of that person anymore.
Yeah, if you have momentary enlightenment, it's not an invite to write a postcard to one of the people who was a traumatic experience for you.
Right. So, and that's the thing, the difference. So people talk to me about this. They're like, well, if my nervous system doesn't remember all that, like, are you erasing my brain? And it's like, no, I could catch myself and be like, I'm not going to call that person up and be like, hey, how's it going? Because my brain still remembers that person is a threat, but like not currently a threat. Yeah. And that's the difference, is that person was a threat back then, not a threat now. And we want to know the difference. The person's not anywhere close. So we have to retrain the nervous system, because the nervous system doesn't know between what you're thinking and what is actually happening. This is why I don't watch scary movies, because all of a sudden now I'm afraid to take out my trash, which I've never been afraid of, because I'm afraid somebody's lurking out there who would never be lurking out there, because I was just watching a show where somebody was lurking, in a back alley or whatever. Yeah,
it took me like 5 days to watch episode 1 of like the very first Walking Dead, because I'd stop it every 10 seconds and go outside for air.
It's not worth it for me.
I can't do zombie movies.
It hijacks your nervous system and causes chaos. So no
True that. Okay, right and wrong closes us down and makes our world smaller. That's truth, no matter what side of any argument you're on, even if you're wrong or right or whatever.
Yeah, somebody would say stealing's wrong, but then it's like, if you can't afford the drugs to keep your mother alive, there's that whole, have you ever heard of that scenario?
No, but Aladdin, the opening. In the market, he steals bread or fruit.
Right. Yeah, because he's starving, right?
He's got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so many exceptions to the rule, and that's why we have them. So, like, yeah, who's to say what's right and what's wrong?
But we're going to stop that one right there, because culturally it's a lot of stuff going on out there, and we don't want to go down that slippery slope. Here's the next one. Wanting situations and relationships to be solid, permanent, and graspable obscures the pith of the matter, which is that things are fundamentally groundless. Now, that clearly is not my quote, because the word pith,
I can't even.
P-I-T-H was in there. But wanting situations and relationships to be solid, permanent, and graspable obscures the pith of the matter, which is that things are fundamentally groundless. Now, 100 Years of Solitude, I'm going to slaughter the author's name, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, said something about
100 Years of Solitude. Is that what you just said?
Yeah. That's the book by Gabriela Garcia Marquez, but talks about.
Was she really in solitude for 100 years?
No, but that's the name of the book.
Oh,
it's Love is Ephemeral. Love is ephemeral or something was the quote, but I got a better quote, which is, the world must be all blanked up, curse word, when literature travels as freight and man travels as in first class. They're talking about a train, and I thought that was incredible. That's one of those, literature books, 100 Years of Solitude, and so on. But so
I just want to put it out there, because it's way too much in our community that solitude is the way. Like, no, we're here to connect. We're here to support each other. We're here to up level and then help others up level, like, and love more. And you can love yourself a lot, but part of it is also loving others.
Yeah, human to human interaction, no matter what type of soul to soul level contact.
Yeah.
I got that. Nothing that I say that's
Embody it here and
yeah,
now.
that was an angel who
like
said
in
that, by
your
the way.
life.
Yeah, I just regurgitate everything I've heard for 12 years from angels. So if anything, it sounds smart or wise. It ain't me. It's just me having heard it enough that I finally
Channeling it.
it went in and didn't come out. Okay, here it involves keeping our hearts and minds open long enough to entertain the idea that when we make things wrong, we do it out of a desire to create some kind of ground of security. Equally, when we make things right, we are still creating some kind of ground or security. That's crazy. We can't even touch that. Okay, here's a better one. A jewel buried in earth a million years is not discolored or harmed, and so a genuine heart can be brought out in anyone, anytime. What crack was I smoking in 1993? Now, that drug probably barely existed back then, but what the heck business did I have writing these quotes down? Now, here's another great one. An undisciplined mind not only cannot be relied upon, it cannot avoid doing harm.
There's too many, Michael. We can't take it all in.
Okay, I'll go for a short one. You learn a fence needs mending after the sheep have run away. An old Irish proverb. So sometimes that's the only way. That's your
right. That's a trigger.
boulder.
Yeah. Boulder trigger.
The boulder. Yep. You learn you got a problem when there are no more sheep in the pen. You're like,
right. So
happened?
yeah, exactly. Like, oftentimes we're walking around, we're like, oh, the sheep look good, like the fence is standing up, and then you go to bed and then the sheep are gone, and you're like, I missed something. This is why I prefer to have those triggers come up and deal with them. Because then my sheep don't go missing because I got triggered and I fixed the fence.
And you could have heard Benny the sheep. One sheep had escaped. Yeah. You could have heard Benny bleeding just over there and figure out the fence was broken. But we're always moving too fast, too busy, this, that. We got to pay the bills. I'm thinking about next week. I'm thinking about the past. I'm not present in the future. There's a Kung Fu Panda quote in there, but we're not going to do it. We did enough quotes. Okay, what else do you have? I think that's like the president.
That's it.
Yeah,
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay,
I still have a human body.
You got Ginger the Fairy and Heather, who makes hearts in her photos, compassion and angel. Get a last little bit of pithy wisdom. Got to use that word again.
So I just saw become the beautiful light, the energy that you are, like just emanate it from who you are.
And you can breathe, smile, laugh to get there. You don't have to use words at all to be that light. You already are.
Right. Which is goes back to Stephen Hawking's book about the is it Stephen Hawking? David Hawking.
David Hawking, not the one who did the emotional scale to 1,000.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, David Hawkins then.
Yeah, David Hawking. Yeah. David Hawking talked about that. Like how when you're just at a certain vibration, you influence those around you, and it raises their vibration. So, the more work that you do on yourself, the more it has a ripple effect of those around you. So keep doing your work. And then you naturally, listen, when I started getting happier and healthier, people were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then now people, when I'm hanging out with them, they're like, I just naturally feel better when I'm with you. Like, what is it? And I'm like, because I love myself and I love you. Like, unconditionally. I love myself unconditionally most of the time, and I love others unconditionally most of the time.
Okay.
And it feels good.
I'm going to that Hawkins scale because two of my guests this year talked about it. Catherine Kerrigan and Stas Johnson.
I believe I talked about it too.
You might have talked, three of you talked about it, which is really
Love and
cool.
Above.
But hear from Charlotte privately. You're not going to share it out loud. Two of your highest moments on the scale. So you get a compliment, but you're also reminded how easy it is for you to go to 700, 800. It doesn't matter about the numbers, by the way. Nobody get caught up on it.
Yeah, it becomes exponentially harder the higher you get on the scale. Like more and more transformation is necessary for you to reach the higher levels. So
Apophrolite, even though I can't pronounce it, you can put your hand out and feel it. This is high vibe crystal. We're ending on a high vibe here. Shiny is all I have to say. It's shiny, and that's what matters. Very shiny. If you want to feel it, what it can speak consciousness wise, it's got a word for you. What
Here,
word are you getting?
Actually consciousness. But what I want to do, I'll just send some energy out to the audience.
Okay. Yep. And they could put their hands up to your hands, by the way, and feel this.
Sure.
But my only suggestion and my only rule for anything is just feel like angels. Get me out of my head into my heart. Make this nice. Amen. Rock and roll. Thank you. You could be going into a dinner, sushi restaurant with family, and that's what you're asking for is peace at the table. Anything. Going for a run. Ask angels to get in here and make it nice.
There we go.
That's a New York expression, isn't it?
Make it nice.
Make it nice. Walk into a restaurant, you know the owner, you're like, make it nice.
My mom would say make nice.
Make nice. That works.
To all my siblings, you know, make nice. I don't know.
Okay, Amy Stark, thank you so much for being a guest on this show. You have been fantastic. We've got another marathon session here. Yeah, starktransformation.com.
Thank you all for bearing with me with my cough, my throat, everything that's going on, the releasing.
You did great. Hopefully some people will check Joe Dispenza out. More importantly, hopefully they'll check you out.
Yeah. He's got great work. I'm doing great work. You're doing great work. We're all just doing our thing. I love it.
Yes. Okay. Angels.
I love you, Michael.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being on the show. I'm just going to stop the recording here because I've already stopped it.